Meeting of the Eagle Mountain Saginaw Independent School District to order. Let the record show a quorum of board members is present, and that this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. We do have, so welcome everyone. We're glad you're here. It's back to school, right? We do have a couple of people that want to give us a report or some comments. So before you begin, I need to give you some public comment participation rules, please. So first of all, we're happy that you're here to share your opinion. A few rules of order regarding the public comment portion of this meeting. According to our board policy, each speaker will have up to 5 minutes to speak. The speaker also may provide a written statement to the board to supplement his or her comments if desired. We will have our board secretary, Mr. Newcomb, keeping time tonight, and he will hold a time card showing the time you have remaining. And it will also be, are the screens working?
Yes.
Okay, and the screens, also on the screens. The board may respond with specific factual information or existing policy may be furnished in response to inquiries on a posted agenda item. But please note that to comply with FERPA laws on student privacy, you may not mention a student by name. Additionally, according to board policy, you may not make derogatory comments about any individual staff member, either by name or title. Should you need to file a complaint, you may do this through our formal grievance process outlined in the board policy. So our first person that is going to speak is Mr. Sayeda Saeed. Oh, Mrs. Sayeda Saeed, sorry. I just spoke to you. I should have known that, didn't I? I was like, Mrs. Sayeda Saeed.
Hi, thank you for giving me opportunity to talk to you this evening. Hi, I'm Sayeda Sayed and my address is 6705 Sapphire Circle, North Colleyville. I'm here to speak on a very important agenda. It's not on your agenda, but it's TAD board election for the appointed board members. So the timeline is here. The nomination period starts in September until October 15, and on October 30th, chief appraiser will assemble all the nominations, will assemble the ballot and send it to all the taxing entities. And the taxing entities have to do all those votes on resolution, by resolution on the agenda, and a public hearing is needed. And send it back to TAD by December 14th. Because if you send it on December 15, it's no use. They will not count those votes. Eagle Mountain Saginaw ISD has 189 votes. And I'm encouraging all the taxing entities to please do not put all the eggs in one basket. This is the time to act. Please give at least, even if you do not like the candidate, give at least one vote to each candidate, at least one vote. So you as a taxing entity has the right to recall that board member when they will not follow Texas property tax code, because that's the main job of TAD board of directors, to follow Texas property tax code. I'm running this time for TAD board for appointed position. I ran in the municipal election for place 1 and I lost, missed the runoff and everything, but that's a separate story. By profession, I'm a mechanical engineer. I have master's degree in mechanical engineering. I used to work for City of Dallas. I was an appraisal review board member here in Torrent Appraisal District for 2019, 2020, and part of 2021. I was one of the whistleblower there when whatever was happening there during the COVID time. I volunteer for my city for several committees, planning, zoning, capital improvement, architectural review. I was there, not anymore. Zoning Board of Adjustment, Metro 14 code. I started in 2017 with Metro 14 code. I'm still there. I'm on planning, zoning, and capital improvement since 2019. And I have a meeting today, the work session. So please consider me for your nominee. Hope to have your vote, but please vote for each and every candidate. Don't put all the eggs in one basket and then we all got in the mess that were created by the TAD board because of their lack of knowledge of Texas property tax code. Thank you and hope to have your vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next person is Daniel Bennett.
Daniel Bennett, White Settlement, Texas. Thank you for the opportunity here, Ms. Tolbert, board members. Mr. Chadwell, I'm sorry to see that you're retiring, to be honest with you. I didn't know that until I read the paper. I'm here to thank this board. You guys, of all the boards in Tarrant County, you guys were first to the punch. You knew in 2014 there was issues. You guys had to live those issues. Rolling the figures from 14 to 15. You lost millions of dollars. The only way you could have stood up at that time, because no one enjoyed you. You were lone soldiers. You were by yourself. You did not send TAD their payment, their quarterly payment. And I still remember sitting in James Shealy's office when he was telling me the story. And I really hadn't been paying attention, because when I was nominated by my city to run, I knew there were issues, and I set out to fix them. And I'm not giving up. And neither has this board. And accolades to all of you. I spoke to Joe Don. He's at the mercy of the board to do what he has to do, as he works at the pleasure of the board, as Mr. Chadwell works at the pleasure of you all. I want to thank Ms. Ring. In 2017, you put out a questionnaire to all the candidates. You stood up and said, this is really an important position. This isn't a coffee and donut board. We really need to have people that know what they're doing, are going to follow the property tax code, and hold the chief chief appraiser accountable. And I failed the test. I remember you said my answers were a little coarse, a little too, I can't remember exactly what you said, but I knew what I thought needed to be fixed, and I told you how I was going to fix it. And you can see now going forward, we had computer systems that were 20 years behind. We had no encrypted software protecting data. The backups were terrible. The CAM system didn't work. Even Joe Don Bobbitt, I know he was here, and I want to say something. I'm glad you had him here, because no other school district has reached out to Joe Don Bobbitt, and they want to know, why do you want to come here? I spoke to Mr. Bobbitt. I said, now you understand Tarrant County. They've been sleeping for 10 years. They get their certified roles. They go happily down the path, no matter if the appraisals are not uniform and equal, no matter if the exemptions are messed up, no matter if things are left off the roll, if things are undervalued. If they get their role, they set their tax rate, and off we go. Well, now the public got tired of it. I've been trying to fix this. When Bobbitt got here, he said, Joe, that software that they're running today, I had software 25 years ago that was better. So that's stunning, coming from someone from Waco, a small appraisal district. So now all the ISCs are clamoring for Mr. Bobbitt to show up. Now, I did suggest to Dr. G down at Kennedale to put him on the agenda, as I did Arlington ISD. Under the law, from what I gathered from those two bodies, they changed the law for 75,000 and above. You denying this reappraisal plan really has no teeth. Your power rests in denying their budget. That's where your power rests. Your power rests at the purse string. You did it back in 2014. I'm not suggesting you do it today. I'm trying to show the public that this board was engaged. This board tried to do the right thing by their taxpayers. They were not engaged with you. It was just us and a handful of other ones. Mansfield actually got a TAD committee to evaluate board members. So Mansfield came in, Kennedale came in, HEB, Fred Campos, 2017. Guy's amazing. That board's amazing. But all the other ISDs, there's a cot and a pillow. And now the pendulum has swung. And everyone's now has to come to the table and start working together. And that's what I said at TAD. That's what I'm saying tonight. But you guys were first in line fighting for your taxpayers. If anybody says anything different, they need to come see me. And I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. That concludes our oral reports. Thank you both for coming. We appreciate your comments. So our first report is on the superintendent search, and we have Dr. Mike Moses, who is with Thompson and Horton, and he is going to present some information for everyone so that they'll know the timeline and what to expect as we begin this important search.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and members of the board. It's good to be with you this evening. Appreciate your work again. Let me also restate that David Thompson and I are very honored to have been asked to assist the board in the search for a new superintendent. Like you all know, we're admirers of Jim Chadwell and appreciate his work, as I know all of you do. Regrettably, David wanted to be here, and unfortunately, he had an accident and he sustained some injuries, head injuries this week. He's okay. Had a CAT scan, and they said he's still going good, but had about 15 staples and had a pretty nasty fall, and probably needed to take a few days to recuperate. So you're kind of stuck with me this evening, but he plans to be fully engaged as the search goes forward. Again, we appreciate the opportunity very much to be asked to work with you. I think we've already kind of outlined some things, but I'll restate. You know, the firm is Thompson & Horton. The offices are in Fort Worth, Dallas, Austin, Houston. David and I have done a couple hundred of these searches. We've been very fortunate and blessed to work with some top-tier school districts in Texas, and we certainly consider you one of those. David's done quite a bit of work in Texas in the area of school law, school finance, and I've been fortunate enough to be the superintendent of 4 districts in Texas and have served as commissioner of education. All of which is simply to say we feel very lucky and feel very fortunate to get to work in this area and work with school leaders, school trustees. We think that strong school boards want strong superintendents, and strong superintendents want strong school boards. So that matters. I think we've already talked a little bit about our role in terms of advertising the position, recruiting for the position. In fact, advertising has already gone up for the position. One of the things, Madam Chairman, we didn't talk about is whether the board wanted national advertising. I don't know that we would necessarily recommend that. There is a cost, a little more of a cost associated with that, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $2,500 or so to advertise. The truth of the matter is the superintendents who are in other states, they will generally follow TexasISD.com and the Texas Association of School Administrators if they're interested in looking at a position in Texas. That's where we advertise the position. Not found, and we've not found that national advertising necessarily yields a bigger pool. But if you had an interest in that, then we'd certainly follow through on it. But I think Texas advertising will work. We have recruited and we have found superintendents in other states. I tell boards, if you're going to talk with people from out of state, they really need to know the Texas school finance system, and they really need to know the Texas school accountability system. And those people that cannot talk about those things generally will have much more difficult time in terms of working with boards and presenting themselves to boards.
Well,
so,
Dr. Moses, we didn't really talk about it, but I don't think that we are interested in national candidate. I mean, it's open session, so we could sure somebody speak up if they are. What I'm curious, what is the extra cost if you advertise mainly in Texas ISD? Is there a national website for superintendents that you post?
AASA and NSBA are going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $2,000, $2,500.
Okay.
We're doing these right now on TexasISD.com, and we're doing these on the Texas Association of School Administrators. Those are probably going to be more like $500. If you'd like the national advertising, we've done it before. As I say, Steve, I'm just not sure it yields a lot different pool than you'll see otherwise. people who are in other states that want to come know that they know David and I. And here's the thing, you know, we know candidates. We've recruited a few people out of state. I'd say, you know, Spring Branch hired an assistant from Fulton County, and we did that search, and we probably had 2 or 3 other searches where people have come from out of state. I don't know that they found us by national advertising, though. I think they.
Seemed like it'd be a surrounding maybe state where a superintendent left Texas and went to Oklahoma
Yeah.
or Louisiana and one come back. And they would probably go to the site you've been talking about.
That happens a lot. We say that we have had people that have been in Texas, worked in Texas, left, went out of state, saw the error of their ways, and then called us and said, hey, we'd really like to take a look at some things back in Texas. And we're always happy to do that. And we share all the information with them and with those boards. But again, and you don't have to decide today. We still do the national advertising later, but it's just not something that the value of that versus the cost is what I'm thinking.
Well, I don't think we're.
If anybody.
Not at this time.
Yeah, it's not. I had the same thought. Texas ISD is kind of the go-to.
I think we talked to you about the advertising, the recruiting. Tomorrow, we're going to have probably close to 100 letters that are going to go out inviting people to both nominate individuals for the position and also to invite some people, quite a few people. These are usually very successful individuals in their current position. And I think we've already stated, we do not work for the candidates, we work for you. And that is true in all matters, including if they're having difficulty or if they're being highly successful. The truth of it is, we're interested in talking to people who are highly successful in their current roles and positions. Talk to you a little bit about community engagement. I know that is of interest, and I think all of you have been working on that, where we work with focus groups. David and I would be scheduled to be back in your district on October 2nd and spend the day here working and meeting with members of your community that you've nominated. And I think you all have that list, and we've asked for a parent, non-parent taxpayer, business person, chamber person, representative of faith-based institution, a teacher, administrator, a principal, student, auxiliary staff member, and an elected official or other. So each of you gives us that area, then obviously that's 9 people, that's 7, that's 63 individuals. We'll be here to meet with them. Looking at that schedule for the day, I know that might be of interest to talk about just a little bit about what you would like to see happen. We have proposed something so that we would get feedback from those individuals in 3 meetings that day. Also meet with your staff. Also make ourselves available for any media that wanted to talk with us. And Megan and I have discussed that for just may not be any available for that. And then at the end of the day, meet with you and give you a summation of what we have heard, and then follow that up with a written report. It's my understanding that some of you may want to think about a late afternoon session with us doing something later in the day. That's doable. We've tried that in a couple of other districts. I can't necessarily report to you that that's yielded a much bigger turnout. Some people at the end of the day say, I'm ready to go home. But if you think that's something that we need to adjust this schedule to do, then we can do that. But I think it's one of the things for your benefit. I think what you want to do is hear from us, though, after we've heard from everybody in the focus groups. I think if we were to give you a report and then have another focus group, you don't have a full picture of what we've heard. Am I making any sense at all? So if you have thoughts on that, or Madam Chair, if the board has thoughts on that, then I'll be glad to, make adjustments or do what we need to do here. The schedule we've suggested is one we've used many, many, many times with districts, but if you feel like you need something else, then certainly happy to try to work with you.
Who was concerned about
I'm-
that?
I think it's important to, if you're asking community members, that you have at least one that's outside of the traditional workday. If somebody might really want to give feedback, but not be able to take a vacation day to do it.
Well, they'll have an opportunity though, October 3rd through 10th with the community input. I mean, they would still have an opportunity to participate. It just wouldn't be, I guess, in the focus group
A
setting.
focus group setting would be a different.
Yeah.
I guess one thing, just as far as setting this up, is, as this would be, we would assign somebody to one of these focus groups. If we do ask for their choice, then those 63 people, we have to find out when and where they want to be scheduled. And it's possible that the one in the evening could be overloaded just out of a convenience factor, not because people can't do the morning, they just want to do the evening, and then it may affect that, just in practicality for us to schedule. If we get preference, then it will potentially cause an issue there.
I could contribute here for just a minute. And again, having done this a couple hundred times, we've kind of seen it all different ways. But I talked to Kim a little bit about, once you get the names, what we've asked her to do, and with the board chair, and is get those names, and don't put all the teachers in one group. Don't put all the parents in one group. Don't put all the business people in one group. Have a good cross-section so that we have a rich conversation and a rich discussion. We don't want it to be an echo chamber. We want everybody to hear each other's views and to get to make their contributions. Jim, I think you make a good point that if you opened it up and let people select a time, what I suggested to Kim is they take the names and again, divide them up, and then take a look. Board president probably needs to take a look at those, make sure the community is well represented geographically, and every other way that this community needs to be reflected. And then send out the letters. If somebody calls and says, hey, I'd really like to participate, but I can't come at 10:30. Well, then move them to 8:30, or move them to the afternoon session, or whatever they need to we want to get people in, not keep people out. And then if they can't make that work, then we may have to say, well, hey, this is going to go live tomorrow on our website. And the same questions that the focus groups are going to see and hear are going to be live on the website. Megan and I have already discussed today about have that go out in a survey that looks like surveys that y'all already do. So we're trying to work with people to get them in, but there may be some people that just for whatever reason can't make it. I don't know if that helps the discussion or not, but that'd be a contribution that I would make.
Well, I think Paige feels, I know Paige feels strongly about it. I do know that, for some people, it may be a hindrance. I don't know. That's.
I think if you do that, then you would move our meeting to the next day. That's the only way I say, and the
Or
superintendent.
we go later that night.
Well, if you're gonna have them come after work, we'd have to go like 8 o'clock at night, really late. Because they'd need an hour and a half, then they have to get their report ready.
Well, here's what's going to happen on that. You're going to get a verbal report, that evening. Then a few days later, you'll get the written summation of what we get. David and I have kind of budgeted to do this in a day. So David's going to fly in, he'll come in the day before, he'll stay at my house or whatever. We'll be over here the next morning, be ready to work that day. If you think we need to try to get something in late that afternoon, before 6 o'clock and then meet with y'all at 6, we can try to do that and see if there's a group that we want to invite to come from 5 to 6 and try to do that. But I feel a lot better about giving you feedback
The same night.
that same day from the people we've heard from that day. So if your feeling is, and Paige, if you think it would help to have something after 5 o'clock or say 5 to 6, then I think that would.
I do. I think we have a lot of people that might be interested, but wouldn't be in traditional. But if I'm the minority and that's not how everybody else feels, but I guess I would think it could be important to make everybody feel included.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Have you
It's
talked to any?
inclusive.
Have you know some? I told mine when I called them that, that the meetings were during the day, and so far, of course, some of them are students and they were going, woo-hoo, I get out of school. but
Like,
that's a
maybe that
homework
would be
too.
a way, maybe we could approach it with, reach out
Let's
to
see.
list and see if we have ones that say, boy, I really
Yeah.
want to do it,
Yeah,
and then we could modify that time frame. Maybe that would be a way
Yeah,
to do
I was
it.
gonna say,
If
maybe that's a
needed.
suggestion if we needed to.
To leave that, slot open, and we
So-
can either slide ours up or down accordingly if you, as you.
What Help me, what
I would say
help me
let's-
get where I need
Let's
to go.
say that, let's say, I mean, are we good if we do 5 to 6 for another group if needed, and then we're at 6 to 7? But if we don't need that 5 to 6, then we'll move ourselves back up. Would that work? Is
Where's
that,
the 5 to 6 going to be for people who call Kim and say, I can't come, or are we just going to open up and invite some people at that time? It's all right with me, I just.
we
I'm
would
just trying to
probably,
clarify.
well, that would be an option if they couldn't come to another time.
I think if we contact all of our people, like I thought we had talked
Yeah.
about, call and say, would you like to do it?
Right.
And I did the same thing on all the 9 I contacted, told them the timeframes, and none of them had.
They
a
were all
problem
okay?
with it.
Okay, well, maybe we just see
That
that.
included the students.
Yeah, the students were like, woo-hoo, I want one right in the middle of. school.
Anybody else have?
I,
I mean, I'm seeing Tim over team page, if that's what we're picking. Yeah, I'd say keep it like it is.
People.
and I do,
I'm
I
fine
think
if
it's
we don't
important.
have people
yeah.
that have conflicts.
I mean, I
I
think
think
it's
it's realistic that we might, and so if it sounds.
But if there is a conflict, they'll still have a voice. They still
Yes,
will
they
have the
will.
opportunity.
They will.
you know, Maybe even a better opportunity when they respond to the questions. They won't be boxed into
Process, yeah.
90 minutes.
Yeah, I'd probably like to respond on the website.
Yeah.
I want to be very respectful here of everyone, but part of this is you as a board will make this decision, but you're inviting and wanting to get input. And hopefully in a way that where people can come and meet personally and spend some time being heard, but also if that's not possible, for them to be able to get on the district website and offer virtual input and electronic input. I think that's the right way to go, and it's a commendable way to go. But if y'all call us and say, if you want to leave this hanging until Kim says if she sends the letters out and the people say, hey, I can be there, and you have 90, I think you'll get a high, if you put these out, we talked about that, if you put these out right after Labor Day, I think you will get a very high percentage of participation. If you waited until 3 or 4 days ahead of time, no, schedules are made, people get busy. But this is something usually that, in our experience, has been, they see that letter and they see what the topic is, they see what they've been invited to do, they generally try to come and participate. Again, somebody might call and say, I want to come, but I can't come at 10:30. Could I be, okay, well, let's get you in at 8:30 then. Let's get you at that session. But if you, after that has kind of worked its way through the system, if it's becomes apparent we need to do something late that afternoon, then we'll do it. We'll figure it
Okay,
out.
well, we'll make all those, some of us haven't made the calls, some of us have made calls, but some of us have not, me being one. I have my list, I haven't made the calls. So, we'll get back to you if we need to. Dr.
Okay, just, you
That
know,
okay,
we're,
Paige?
That's fine.
And
We
just
will
from
make
a
work.
practical level, just to let y'all know, if we have teachers, which we will have participating, we'll provide sub-coverage.
Okay.
for
I was
those.
going to ask that if we could do that, because I know I've got some.
What about rides
Sure, we,
for students? What
Pardon
about rides for students to get here?
if necessary, sure, absolutely. Yeah, we've done that before for our
Student voice and stuff like that.
for our student
Yeah.
voice. But as you talk to teachers, nobody likes to miss class, but obviously this is a big decision too. And so like Dr. Moses said, they'll probably want to be involved, but just encourage them to say, oh, I don't want to get anybody to cover my class. Just say, no, this is important. This is, but this might be the only time you do this in your career, take advantage of it, and then we'll take care of the sub portion on the backside.
Thank you,
It's
Jim, that'll be
90
great.
minutes.
That's
It's
important.
90 minutes. We'll try not to disrespect anybody's time. Generally, they're usually happy when they come because they get to hear what everybody else was thinking and talking about. The students add a again, they enrich the conversation. The students usually have things to say, and a lot of adults say, wow, we hadn't thought about that. And they're usually pretty frank and honest too. So I think it'll be a good day. But if this schedule somehow looks like it's not going to unfold the way it needs to, President can tell me, Kim can tell me, we'll make something else. Okay.
I just want to say, we're opening it to everybody. Like, it's not exclusive process. I know they're just different environments. But like, as people are here, like, we want everybody's voice. They're just going to be in different environments. I mean, it's an inclusive process, not an exclusive process. It's just different people in different environments. That's what's important.
Good point. I'll move along here, not belabor everything. We have also scheduled for the process of applying for the position. Of course, it's open right now. It's being advertised. It is scheduled to close on October the 10th, which will leave the position open about 50 days, which is pretty customary. Some have been as few as 30, some go 40, 45, but this will be, we are already getting calls, already getting texts, already getting emails. I think it would be fair to say more attention will be focused after Labor Day. Few people have already sent some written material. Probably 3 or 4 or 5 people have already sent written material, but some of the candidates I think that are, we'll say, at the top level of executive position are probably going to pay more attention to this after Labor Day. We've had some preliminary conversations in that regard, but the deadline, of course, as I mentioned, we have set up as the 10th. We are scheduled then to be back with you after the focus group day, to be back with you on October 16th. I have 11:30 a.m. was established. I think y'all had talked about that at the beginning.
Yes, sir.
As we had told you, that's probably a long meeting. That's probably a 3 to 4 hour meeting, maybe. It could be longer because there'll be a lot of material to look at, to dissect, discuss, and that's when the board generally makes a decision about who are the individuals that we would like to bring forward for our first round of interviews. No commitments, no promises, just it's a first round. The interesting thing about that, the October 16th works for us, but you had also, I think in one of the communiques I got from the president, established, and I like it, you should establish October 22nd, 23rd, and 24th for your first round of interviews. Well, we try to prepare you a packet, and in that package has, after the 16th when you meet, we try to prepare you a packet that has everyone's resume, their school district performance report, also has their current salary information about salary and benefits. And each one of you get a packet on each person you're going to interview. Well, the turnaround time on that is generally for us about 5, 6, 7 days. And by moving the date that we meet with you from October 14th to October 16th, which I think y'all needed to do, and then establishing the interviews to begin on October 22nd, we kind of compressed that schedule. Fortunately, David has an office in Fort Worth and Dallas, and we think if we get through with y'all the afternoon of the 22nd, we can get those copied and printed and everything prepared for you, and get it back over here by Friday morning, the 18th, so you will have it over the weekend and have it over the weekend and the day before the interviews begin. It'll be a pretty quick turnaround time, but we think we worked out a way today to make that happen. But just be advised, we will be pedaling pretty quickly at that.
We appreciate that,
Well, that's
if
okay.
it's
I mean,
possible.
I think your schedule, again, I have the 22nd, 23rd, 24th. Madam President, I don't know what times I think I had 1 o'clock was written down on this, but if there's something we need to do differently.
We talked about 1 o'clock on Tuesday for sure, depending on, and then if we needed Wednesday and Thursday evenings or early evenings, we could do that. So that's really kind of going to be when candidates are available, but we were asking for that Tuesday to be.
Okay, do that.
Earlier
So
in
the
the
other days you want to begin.
Could be flexible. I mean, does anybody have preferences about that?
On which, not the
Wednesday and
23rd,
Thursday.
24th.
23rd, 24th.
earlier the better. For me, that's just me, after drop off, after kid drop off. Work day's better, but whatever, it's just me.
I mean,
In your experience, is there a better time for candidates to have these
that's what I was
interviews?
going to ask.
The candidates are going to, first of all, be delighted to be invited. And they're going to do everything they can. If they go to the trouble to complete materials, send in a portfolio, resume, letter of interest, they're going to be very delighted to be asked, and they're going to make every effort they can to make calendar work. truthfully, in today's environment, this is just me, I think a lot of people will just as soon get in their car, 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, drive somewhere, be there by noon. And in Texas, unless you're coming from El Paso or Amarillo or Lubbock, where I was the last week, but most places in Texas, you can drive to in 4 hours, 4, 5 hours. They like to do that. They can work on their cell phone, be there, conduct the interview, quietly in, quietly out, drive home that evening, and only be out of the office one day. That has probably a lot of appeal. That won't keep people from coming in the evening either. If they need to drive home late, to get home late, they'll do that. In a few instances, someone may say, I'm going to need to stay overnight. I might need a room, but we work with them on that. But generally, that's kind of the way it works. They'll come, if they've got an interest, they're going to try to come when the board says. we
So,
can do this.
I mean, are we saying that those potentially all could be?
Yes, they
at
could
one?
be. I
We
mean,
could
I
just
know
Go noon or 1.
When we originally
All
talked, you had said that
one
sometimes
till-
candidates would prefer to come in after a work day, right?
They-
And so we don't want to keep anybody from coming because of the time, right?
Some can. If I thought it was going to materially affect your pool, I'd tell you. If
Okay.
I knew. But I don't- This time, I don't think it. I think and not only that, I think once you've established this and put it on, I think Megan and I talked about having a superintendent link on y'all's website that goes to the candidates, the public can go to and see the calendar, can go and see the board's budget, can see the student performance report, can find the audit. Candidates like that. The public may like that. People are in just to see it. A link on the website that has information. And the superintendents and the superintendent candidates very much appreciate that and very much. So if the timeline's on there and they say, hey, they're going to be interviewing starting at 1 o'clock. If I'm fortunate enough to be selected, I need to plan accordingly.
Now, what about the second round of interviews? Do those need to be in the evening or?
Those, generally, again, what we've recommended, if you ask for a couple of people to come back out of the first round and go up second round, is typically spouses are invited. Typically, it's a informal dinner, hour, maybe 5:30, 6. And then the spouse is excused. And then the board usually spends another 2.5 hours with the candidate. And if y'all need to do something else, we can do that. That generally works well. And you have a great environment and a great setting here to conduct those activities too.
Other questions, or, I mean, does that look, I think it's important for us to
Yeah, I think the
be
1 o'clock
available to
for the first interviews sounds like seems according to.
reasonable.
Yeah,
Couple hours apiece, is that what we're thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're gonna get more
Each day.
Yeah.
On October the 16th, when we complete our activities of identifying candidates, we also have activities to conduct with you. And that'll take about 30 more minutes, and that will be, that will have information that you can use or not use, but I find it helpful process, and we'll go over that protocol with you and ready, but I think you'll find it helpful conduct those interviews. Certainly, you're going to get to ask what you want, have some prompts.
Great.
Help you get the candidate.
So I would just say I feel like it's really important for all of us to be here, but we also know that things happen, right? And so as long as we have a quorum, I would prefer that we're all here, right, our whole team. But if something unfortunate happens that one of us couldn't come, then but if we have this schedule now, that's why I wanted to try to make sure we kind of firmed it up so that we know here's where we are. And so speak now.
I guess according to the number of candidates, we've got 22nd, 23rd, 24th. Obviously, we have 9 candidates. We're going to be doing 3 a day. If we have 6, we're going to be doing 2 a day.
Yeah, it's going to just depend on.
Okay.
I think you can do more than 5, 6, or 7 is typical. You can do more. I think you will probably want to be a little more discriminating about that and probably find that 6 is
2 a day.
5, could be 6, could be 7. But that begins to run into your time, and you want to make sure that the time that you're using is wisely invested by the board as well as by the candidates. But if you get to a point that you say, hey, we've got to have these 7 in, or these are, we've got to, it's just too close here. We have a little process to help you figure out how you may want to get there and get to a number that you're comfortable with. But, and remember this, once, we've had this happen a couple of times, not very often. Board interviewed a group of first round of people and said, let's bring 2 people back, and called back and said, we brought the wrong people back, Mike. we should have brought back this other one, and said, okay, we don't call people up and say, you're finished, you're eliminated, you're out. Everybody is still considered a viable candidate until the board completes the search. So if, nothing is done until you say it's complete. So we don't take that away from you. We don't do anything to basically diminish the pool. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
I think, you're going to have some more time to think about this, but I think we've talked about that first round, second round. We set those up. We make the calls. We have the candidates here at the times you agree on. If you're thinking about starting at 1 o'clock, I think you'll find that 1 to 3 would be a good time. You can decide then, do you want an hour between interviews or 30 minutes? Probably you're going to want to take a break. You also want to probably complete a little score sheet that we have, and you're probably going to want at least 30 minutes. If you do, then you need to have a second interview from 3:30 to 5:30 that day. I've already spoken with Kim about how we would want to get candidates in and out and respect confidentiality and so forth. So we've addressed that, but that is important, the process. I think we said if you interview 7 people or 6 people, and you only hire 1, you want the others to be cheerleaders for Eagle Mountain Saginaw ISD. When they leave, you want them to say, this was a very professional process, this was very well done, my confidentiality was respected, and they've got nothing but great things to say about the experience in this district. That's our goal. When those are done, we'll also work with you if you want to do a site visit. Very few of our districts do site visits anymore. Internet has pretty well ended the site visits, but if you think a site visit would be of help, then we will be glad to help set that up. We will also already have done reference checks on every candidate. As I said, we don't work for the candidates, we work for you. We will talk to people both on their reference list and people who are not on the reference list. We do have a pretty good network in public education in Texas, and so we do talk to people about the work that's being done by school leaders and school executives to assure that. We also do a financial background check. We also normally try to do a social media check to make sure that nothing's been put on social media that would embarrass the candidate, or more importantly, the board and the district. So that's also done, and then cooperate with your district to do a criminal background check as well. All that is to say, we want to make sure that the candidate or candidates being considered are very, very outstanding individuals. So we try to take care of that. I think we've already told you that, we do not send you any invoices during the search. We do not nickel and dime you during the search. We will send you 1 invoice at the end of the search if you're happy. And so our goal is to make that happen. And, we also have said if for some reason someone left after a year, we would do a search for free. If they left after 2 years, we do one for half price. That's never happened to us. We're proud to say that we've had some very nice tenures, the people that we've been fortunate enough to work with, the boards we've worked with. But we want to stand by our work, and we want to stand by you. Madam Chair, I think that's a summary of kind of the process, that a little bit about focus groups, a little bit about our timelines and what we're trying to accomplish. I'll be glad to take any questions. I don't want to belabor you. You've got other things to do, and I know some of you said you wanted some more board training, I think, but
Questions? Any questions or comments? Mike, thank you so very much. We really appreciate it. We look forward to working with you, and looking forward to seeing the candidates and beginning the process. So again, we're excited.
I was excited about it when the opportunity looked like that we might have a chance to work with y'all, and we were very pleased. I was also excited to come over here and see your facilities and see the district again. I've been in and out of the district, but it's been 3 or 4 years since I'd really driven around and also seen some of the beautiful schools that you've built and the things you've done. You also have a district that you've taken care of it from a fiscal standpoint. You have real strong financial discipline. You also have excellent student performance. That's a credit to the board. It's also a credit to that gentleman that's up there too, as the superintendent of schools. And I've known that, but I've got to see it firsthand. So we're excited too, and we're going to do everything we can to make this a win.
We
Okay?
appreciate it very much. Thank you so much for your time. We
Hope Davey
appreciate
gets
it.
feeling better.
What's that?
Hope Davey gets feeling better.
Yeah, I think he's better, but he shook up, had a, it was pretty traumatic there, but I think he's getting everything repaired.
Introducing
We'll be back
Sleep
to you
Stream
all soon.
TV with unlimited.
Okay, thank you so much. Be in touch. Okay, next we will have our education services report, and our first one is science update from Ms. Teresa Parisi and Ms. Padella. Excited to see.
President Goldberg, members of the board, and Chadwell, thank you for your service and for allowing us this time to brag on science, STEM camps, and Discovery Labs this evening. So we're going to start with some celebrations. Our K-12, all teachers of science were trained in the new three-dimensional learning that is coming to us with our new TEKS. We have new curriculum that was also designed around that three-dimensional learning, as well as new resources. We have curriculum that has been written collaboratively throughout the summer with teachers. Our Discovery Lab now has wrapped buses, and we dedicated our labs to 2 phenomenal science educators, and we continue to have visits in the Discovery Lab. We had a phenomenal turnout for our 2024 STEM Showcase, and we had our summer STEM camps for both middle school and elementary school.
We also wanted to take this opportunity to celebrate our partnerships that we've been working on over the last several years. We continue to work with Region 10 academics, their academic outdoor program, the Discovery Lab and the trails, and curriculum as well that they have aligned with our new team. Very excited about that. We continue our partnership, with Texas A&M AgriLife and Extension 4-H with our chicken hatching and elementary, which we're always so excited about, and continuing, of course, our support with IMSI and our Education Foundation. We had some new partnerships that we're working on and started to develop this last year. We had a group of students come over and not only tour our facilities and our trails, but they also went over to TCC and learned about their Pocket Lab with the instructors over there. And during that time, we had some great conversations and have some great ideas that we come to fruition in year, actually. We continue our work with Texas Park and Wildlife. Actually, I'm talking to them today. And then a new partnership this summer, opening our fabulous Eagle Mountain High School. We worked with Flint Scientific, and they came out in person, sent a team, and also collaborated with a team out in Minnesota to make sure that our labs were set up according to OSHA standards and specific chemical closets, which is always something, a huge task. And so important. You'll actually see a picture there. We're all very proud of it, and using what they did as the safety setup with the chemicals to use as a standard for our other schools. So we look to continue partnership as well.
We're embracing the new science department here in Saginaw High. We're so excited to roll out new instructional materials. Summer, we worked very closely with to create new curriculum documents that focus on dimensional learning in the new TEKS. And we use our new instructional materials to support learning. Very intentional in the creation of our curriculum materials. We focus on that three-dimensional color dimensions in our documents so that identify. You'll notice on the top right graphic where it's about the science targets, it's broken down by the science and engineering practice, content standards, and the carried that out. Got our curriculum document.
On this slide, you'll see pictures of last year engaged in learning.
One of our third grade campuses invited out a meteorologist to come out and talk about weather and the weather tools. Our teachers are always looking to be in their classrooms. And then, of course, the chickens are great to learn. They learn everything from math to writing to community building. The top middle picture is a chicken circle. They put the kids in a circle. Chickens kind of run in the middle where they interact with them. And then down on the right is our chick cam. If you have a link to the chick cam, send me an email. I'll be happy to get you.
I'd like a link to the chick cam turned backwards to see if you could get kids' faces if they saw.
Oh, that's a great idea.
That would be
That is a great
phenomenal.
idea. And I will say that I think we all have somewhere.
We also have great community engagement with chickens going to Saginaw ISD. Place 100% of our chickens. Great.
And plants are never quite as chicks, so I know we can never secondary, but no, with secondary, we have plants growing and what you see, the students trying to solve problems. And what if we and in high they're using technology. You'll see these middle schools. You'll see on this slide apps that we have on. You'll see our Rocket app there and over time app, which and then also with the landscape. And last year was for us with our new TEKS, our new instructional material, our big, on April 8th, I think that day will forever be
Mhm.
But we were very excited, great, and learn about the across the board, our class that met the ISO that we were able to have lenses new and also I partnered with we have a website out during website. It's about experience. And then middle school. Or middle school. Infrastructure. And engineering. Various groups. That helped the STEM camp. So, now we have a during that time, and our campus by our middle actually I'm in the last day. We also had elementary STEM camps this summer. Every elementary state had great national honor societies. In fact, I will never out National Honor Society members. It was a game changer, and they were really great. We had 600 students in a team. Fill every single spot. That was. We're still working for education, and by sizes because we had such a great. And we began. Lessons. So we are in 3 years. Structure one. Try to. Finally, we'd like you to say the date. I'd like to note that your presentation has 2024 on it, but STEM Showcase for 25, February 27th. So mark your calendars and plan to showcase the STEM learning our students across.
The favorite of mine.
Yeah.
Questions, comments?
Do you mind elaborating a little bit on the Discovery buses? I think it's just a cool story. You know, everything in your department's so collaborative and creative and stuff. And we didn't just go out and buy new buses. Understand they were donated, and then we worked with our maintenance department so that we can get the kids back and forth to the Discovery Labs. I just think it's important to tell the story how we worked to be resourceful on getting those buses.
It was overcoming a hurdle.
Dr. Barnes.
Well, sometimes just life is in your favor. I reached out to Dwayne because it was extremely important. The feedback that we received back from our campuses was that they wanted to be here, but they couldn't get buses. And so, you know, you can only be told no if you ask. And so I reached out to Dwayne, who reached out to Gold Star, and I asked for one bus. And Gold Star actually donated 2 buses to us. And then on top of that, Dwayne and his amazing department brought those buses back to life. And then we were extremely blessed that we approached Dr. Chadwell and said, you know, we really want to advertise the Discovery Lab. And he was gracious enough to be able to give us some funds that we reached out to the Knockham family. And Jeff and his wife own a bus wrap company. But I am very, very grateful for them because I know for a fact that the amount of money that we paid them, it cost them probably double that to be able to do these wraps. But they were so excited to be able to do it and to be able to support Eagle Mountain Saginaw ISD. So again, I just want to thank them again for what all they have been able to do. And then Mr. Franklin was the very first individual who was able to drive these buses. But another thing that I'm very, very proud to be able to say is we did receive a phone call from Dwayne, I think this last week or so, and we were short buses. And he said, can we borrow the buses? I said, absolutely. We want these buses to be used on a daily basis. It doesn't matter if it's just to the Discovery Lab or it's picking up kids from homes. I mean, whatever we need to use them. So again, I just cannot thank Gold Star, the Knockham family business, and Dwayne and the maintenance and operations department, and also Dr. Chadwell for his support of being able to provide this. It is a game changer for our campuses and our students.
Cool.
And this is an excellent example of what makes EMS ISD so great, right? I mean, it's just part of what makes us makes the district so great. The employees, the people collaborating and working together. So any other questions or comments? I just want to thank you for your hard work. The pictures are beautiful. They tell the story for you, really. But very, very nice work. Thank you so much. I know the new TEKs are probably a little overwhelming, and but it'll be good for our students and good for teachers. So thank you so much for your hard work and for your presentation. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Colbert.
So it is currently 6:01 on August 26, 2024. This board will now recess for dinner and then reconvene in a closed meeting pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Open Meetings Act, Section 551071, for the purpose of private consultation with the board's attorney regarding pending litigation, a settlement offer, or a matter in which the duty of the attorney is needed and conflicts with the Open Meetings Act. Section 551072, for the purpose of deliberating on a purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. Section 551074, for the purpose of deliberating appointment, employment, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, or to hear a complaint or charge against an officer or an employee. And Section 551076, for the purpose of deliberations regarding the deployment or specific occasions of implementation of security personnel or devices. And Section 5510821, to discuss specific personal identifying information about a student. Of the Board of Education of the Eagle Mountain Saginaw Independent School District. The board is reconvening the public meeting on August 26, 2024 at 7:04 p.m. I will now consider the subject set forth in the posted agenda. So welcome, everyone. We're glad that you are here. We are excited to have Ms. Welby and her beautiful students here from High Country Elementary to open our evening.
So Dr. Chadwell Board, it gives Mrs. Doretta Henderson and myself great pleasure to introduce you to three of our High Country Cougars. First, we have Alea Hodges. Her parents are Ashley Hodges and Jeremy Hodges. Alea enjoys fashion and has a passion for drawing, or honestly any art. And she is a member of the Active Stars Cheerleaders of Texas, where she's a flyer, and they are 2-time state champions. And then we also have her brother, Jeremiah Hodges. And Jeremiah loves to be active. He has a great love for fishing. He is a starting shooting guard on an AAU basketball team called the Chosen One. And when he's not playing basketball or fishing, he can be found gaming.
Oh, very good.
Okay, we also have Valentina Pasos. She is a second grader. Parents are Thomas and Stephanie. She is a member of a wrestling team and has participated in many wrestling competitions. Wow. She's the youngest of 3 children. In her free time, she enjoys painting, playing video games with her big brothers, who are here with her tonight, reading books with her dad, and exercising at the park. She also enjoys cooking with her father on the weekends and making pancakes for the entire family. Ooh. She is a proud owner of 2 snakes and a crested gecko.
My goodness.
Allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now for the Texas pledge.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
May be seated for a moment of silence. Thank you.
Outstanding job. Thank you so very much. It's a favorite part of the meeting. Okay, now we have some communications. We have some special recognitions. Our police officers of the school year, 2023-24. Chief Ramirez.
All right, thank you so much. I'm excited to be here, Madam President, Dr. Chadwell, Board of Trustees. I want to introduce these folks. Come on, guys, up here real quick. Guys and gals, I'm sorry. So we were able to, last year, realize our officers did a lot of great things. So we want to honor them in our own way, and we created the Officer of the Year Award. And so what we did was secondary Officer of the Year and then elementary Officer of the Year. Because we had so many great nominations and stuff this year, we awarded 2 to each, and then we awarded an overall Officer of the Year. So really quick, Officer Leslie Ramirez, Eagle Mountain Elementary School. She was nominated because Jason Beatty, in his words, Leslie embodies the essence of dedication, compassion, and service to our school community in a manner that is truly exceptional. So again, she was nominated and she was one of the winners of the Elementary Officers of the Year. Thank you, Leslie. So our other elementary schools, Officer Stephen Garrett. He's right here. Principal Stacy Witt nominated Officer Garrett for Officer of the Year, stating Officer Garrett has been an invaluable asset to Willow Creek Elementary, constantly goes beyond the call of duty to ensure the safe and nurturing environment for students, staff, and families. Officer Garrett. So secondary Officer of the Year, Officer Jeff Mitchell. He's at Wayside Middle. Principal Sewell Bernard nominated Officer Mitchell for Officer of the Year, stating Officer Mitchell is absolutely adored by the students, staff, and parents. Officer Mitchell is outside early every morning to provide a safe environment for arrival and then an afternoon dismissal. He greets parents and students, and he can be found in hallways in between classes and walk-in perimeter of the building. Officer Mitchell. And so we had so many great nominees, and we really looked at an overall Officer of the Year. And really, I'm really excited to have Officer Glenn Eipert. He was at Hatley Elementary, but he was just our all-around go-to guy. Officer Eipert was selected as Eagle Mountain Saginaw Officer of the Year because his dedication to the department and his ability to respond to various duties without question or complaint. Officer Eipert took the lead to train new officers, attend events at a moment's notice, help de-escalate high-stress situations by creating positive relationships with students and staff. Officer Eipert supported elementary, secondary campuses with a cheerful outlook, knowing it was the best interest of the department, but more importantly, the best interest of the school. Officer Eipert embodies the professionalism, character of Eagle Mountain Saginaw ISD Police Department and was unanimously selected as our overall Officer of the Year. Officer Eipert. Of course, we got the secondary supervisor is John Troy. Elementary supervisor is, of course, Jerome Scott. Thank you, guys.
Thank you to all of you. Well deserved. Okay, Chief Ramirez, I think you have another recognition of a donation.
Yes. So I'm real excited about this recognition. That the relationship we've developed with these folks is just unbelievable. So if I could have Jan and Mike Egginton and Megan Lewis come up, please. While they're coming up, during the 22-23 school year, family owners of a local business, Ryder Express, donated a substantial amount of money to the Eagle Mountain ISD for the purpose of enhancing school safety. The donation was originally to fund 2 years' salary for police officer at Eagle Mountain Elementary School. With the passage of House Bill 3 in 2023, requiring that all schools in Texas have armed officers at every campus, these funds became available to offset costs for equipment for EMS ISD. So again, we met with these individual folks and they were so gracious enough to say what the police department needs. And so we were able to fund a lot of things. The donation where we were able to provide 2 canine dogs, 1 drug interdiction dog, the other trained in weapons detection, 5 police bicycles and uniforms for officers, ballistic vests and helmets for every officer. And so we provide the soft body armor underneath it. What they were able to give us was the ballistic shield that protects against 223 rounds and a 5.56, so the real high caliber, and the helmet, of course. So every officer is equipped with that. In addition, every officer now has a medical trauma kit they carry with them. They were able to get ballistic shields and breaching tools, so the shields that you actually go in with, and the tools we use to make entry into any door or anything that chains or anything that we have in our way. Also, they were able to provide 22 gun safes for 22 of the campuses. And then also medical equipment bag for our nurses who are part of the rapid response team. And that bag contains so much. And it's amazing that we're able to do that. And they provided that, and also provided basically ballistic carrier, which also has the armor protecting what's not bulletproof vest for the tactical nurses. So again, with their donation, we were able to get this this much needed equipment, not only to make our officers safe, but to really enhance what we can do at the schools. So again, I really appreciate you guys doing that for the police department, for the district. So thank you so much.
No, it's okay.
Mr. and Mrs. Eagleston and Mrs. Lewis, we can't thank you enough for your hard work and dedication.
Chief Ramirez. Chief, we just want to say a few words to the family, if you don't mind.
Yes.
President.
Yes, I just wanted to thank Mr. and Mrs. Eagleston and Mrs. Lewis. We are so appreciative of your generosity, your business. You stepped up to the plate when we thought we're going to need someone at Eagle Mountain because of the distance from the police departments and things, until, as Mr. Ramirez, Chief Ramirez said, then the legislature required us to have police officers. So it would have been really easy for you to say, okay, you don't need it, but instead you enhanced our programming, which will enable us to be even, provide even more safety. So we are so indebted and forever grateful for your generosity and help.
Jim, did you want?
Yes, I mean, just echoing everything you just said. We know that we stepped out there before the state required it. And we had a commitment level that we wanted to start that process, and you helped that. You had a vision for it. You came to us, and a lot of what we've done with this department is in partnership with the city of Fort Worth, with other state agencies. But really, as President Tolbert said, it would have been very easy just to say, okay, you're required to do this now, but you didn't. You stepped up and allowed us to be able to use these resources. Our goal is to have the very best school district police department in the country. And I think if we're not there, we're well on our way. And part of that is to have qualified officers, the officers that we just saw that are here, that we're recruiting, the very best person to be in schools, to have that community policing to support and provide that community environment, so kids have a positive experience with an officer, that they feel safe, and that they feel comfortable with them relationally. But also those officers have to have the right tools. They have to have tools to do their job. And you've provided those tools. And you've also provided that expectation from our community that we're going to support our police department. Our police department supports us. So thank you for making our school district safer. Thank you for believing in us and putting essentially your money where your mouth is. You know, you stepped up, and we thank you for that.
Thank you again. Okay, we also have another special introduction, Mr. Behringer and Mrs. Sanders.
Good evening, Dr. Tolbert, Dr. Chadwell, and board members. I have the pleasure of 3 introductions this evening for elementary services. 2 of our members actually had family emergencies and could not be here this evening, but I'm going to go ahead and share about them to you. But I'm going to start with the one who is here, and that is Allie Bodie. So Allie, please join me. We are pleased to introduce Miss Allison Bodie, the new principal of Bryson Elementary School. Miss Bodie brings 24 years of teaching and campus administrative experience to Bryson, having served most recently as assistant principal at High Country Elementary for EMS ISD for the past 5 years. Miss Bodie graduated from Oklahoma State University with a bachelor's in physical education and health, and her master's degree is from TCU Educational Leadership. And she is joined this evening by her husband, Byron. Over here. We appreciate him very much because it takes a lot of support for a principal. So we are so glad to have Miss Allison Bodie. We are also pleased to introduce you to Miss Amy Erb. Amy is the new principal at Comanche Springs Elementary School. Mrs. Erb has been a principal in Keller ISD for the past 11 years. Before becoming a principal, Ms. Erb served as assistant principal and math coordinator in Keller ISD, and she has extensive teaching experience in Northwest and Irving ISDs as well. She earned her bachelor's degree in interdisciplinary studies from Texas Women's University and her master's in educational administration from Midwestern State University. And we have a new assistant principal. We are pleased to introduce Ms. Tara Mancino as the new assistant principal at Elizabeth Lopez Hatley Elementary. Ms. Mancino has deep roots in Eagle Mountain Saginaw ISD, having grown up in the area, attending Bryson Elementary, Wayside Middle School, and graduating from Boswell High School. She earned her bachelor's degree from the University of Texas at Arlington and her master's from Dallas Baptist University. With 6 years of experience teaching in grades K2 and further experience as an RTI and ESL interventionist, Ms. Mancino has a strong educational background. She has served as a math interventionist at Lake Country Elementary and most recently held a role as an administrative intern at Hatley. Ms. Mancino and her husband Matthew have been married for 9 years and are the proud parents to a 7-year-old son and a 5-year-old daughter, and we're happy to welcome them to EMS ISD.
Great, thank you so much.
Madam President, Dr. Chadwell, Board of Trustees, I am excited to be able to welcome Ms. Jessica Rittmuller. Good to see you. Good to see you. Ms. Rittmuller is from Holiday, Texas. She holds a bachelor's degree from LSU in math. She also has a math degree from the University of Houston, go Cougs. And then she also was a participant in our internship program with Dallas Baptist University, where she was stationed at HCTC, but then she also filled in at some of our traditional campuses, both at high school level and at the middle school level. We're super duper excited to have her. She also has taught in Houston ISD. She got here, she said, as soon as she possibly could. And she taught math at Boswell High School. Hi, how are you? And so we are excited to welcome her to Prairie Vista Middle School, where she will serve with Watt Harden, who's the principal. She is married, and her husband, Ryan, and she, of course, have this beautiful Princess Anna, and also they have a son, Bean. So please help me in welcoming Ms. Rittmuller. Next, we have Jennifer Arana. Ms. Arana is a graduate of the University of North Texas with a bachelor's degree, and also she has a master's degree in library science from TWU in Denton ISD. She's a native of Fort Worth, excuse me, and she also has a master's degree in education from the University of North Texas. She was a high school history teacher, also a librarian, school administrator, and being a principal and assistant principal, Fort Worth ISD. She served also in Dallas ISD and in Keller. She's a proud mother of 2 adult children, Natalia and Mario, who are both graduates of Chisholm Trail High School. Please welcome her as a new assistant principal at Chisholm Trail High School. Awesome.
Very good. Welcome to all of you. We're glad to have you. If you were here just for these announcements and for all these celebrations, we're going to go back to our reports and we have quite a few still to cover. So you're welcome to stay, but the fun part has officially ended. So we will go back. But thank you all for coming. We appreciate it. So we're going to go back to the reports that we did not finish at 5 o'clock. So we still have a report from the Education Services people. And Mr. Behringer, you're back up. You already knew that, didn't you? Here you are.
I don't know if I knew it. I was just taking for granted that maybe you calling me again on the teacher's pad. Board members, again, thank you for your time and for your service. If I could get your attention to, I believe, page 20 of your board packet, and to present to you all proposed courses for the 25-26 school year. What I've tried to do, just to be able to digest the information so that I'm not reading each and every one of these, I've just tried to chunk them. So the first 2 there are advanced floral design and also floral design, agricultural laboratory, and field experiences. This is due to course changes by TEA. And so CTE is requesting the 2 options to complete the plant science program of study. Out to your right, you see what the prerequisites are, which we already offer here in EMS ISD. Currently, the only option for students to get this dual credit class is through TCC. This will allow us the opportunity for our students to have that dual credit experience here in EMS ISD without having to travel to TCC. And that's the case for both of those first 2 courses. The next one there is a career and technical education project-based capstone. This is very similar to the capstone program that we have right now in our ELA programs. And so students would be required to create a project-based experience of which that would be approved by people that have experience in whatever that field is. This course takes the place of project-based research, which was eliminated by TEA. Again, you see the prerequisite there, which is counseling and mental health. And again, those first 3 would not cost us any additional FTEs as we already have them in place now. Looking at the next 3, those are all around marketing. Excuse me. The second one being sports and entertainment marketing. Sports and Entertainment Marketing 2. This is an advanced course and would build upon students' prior knowledge of sports and entertainment marketing. The opportunity to complete a new program of study. This is a new program of study that is offered through and by TEA. So the district already currently offers the prerequisite, and that is that's level 1. And that's the case for those 3 marketing courses: marketing, sports and entertainment marketing 2, and then social media marketing. The next chunk there is agricultural structures, design and fabrication, and agricultural equipment design and fabrication. These two courses would be taking the place of welding that's offered now at HCTC. And again, we already have the staff that's in place and would not need to have additional FTE or support. And then finally, practicum in entrepreneurship. This is very, very similar to an internship, if you will. Practicum experiences occur in a paid or unpaid arrangement in a variety of locations appropriate to the nature and level of the student's need for work-based learning experiences. One of the biggest differences here, this has the ability to be 2 credits as opposed to a half or 1 full credit. So I am willing to address any questions that I can. And also we have Dr. Aldridge here as well.
So the half credits would be, some of them are 1 and this is 2, so that would be like a year. They take the one in the fall and the other one in the spring. Is that correct, that the half credit, that's just 1 semester or 1?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
The one with 2, the last one you just mentioned, is that 2 years or?
It's 2 credits.
Is it-
We're adding, we have practicum classes already in place, but they're very specific to practicum ag or practicum science. We've added TEAs as provided practicum entrepreneurship that allows us more flexibility in where we place our students. We have a lot of specifics, and we're very narrow in our focus. This provides us a lot more flexibility.
So is that 2 class periods? Okay, so that's 2 credits in 1 year.
Any other questions, comments? Thank
So I
you.
guess just schedule-wise, 2 class periods, that would just be similar to somebody coming over and taking a class at Holland Science Center where they have kind of that travel period. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Behringer, we appreciate it. Next up is Dr. Waters for the TASB update 1, 2, 3.
Good evening, President Tolbert, Dr. Chadwell, and members of the board. Tonight I bring to you a report on TASB Policy Update 123. This update includes changes to 14 local policies. Most of these are updates that have been put into place to align the local policies with legal policies and changes in those legal policies, including changes to update policy cross-references. There are, however, 2 policies that are undergoing more extensive revisions. Legal policy EF, which covers instructional materials and library materials, has been divided into EFA for instructional materials and EFB for library materials, doing away with legal policy EF entirely. And so therefore the local policies have been divided that way also to mirror the changes in the legal policy. And then similarly, CKEA local is being deleted and the relevant provisions from that have been moved to CKE to clarify the use of police officers and other security in the district. So plan to bring this back next month for approval. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
So all these are local changes, tying back into something we approved for the legal.
The board does not approve legal policies. Those are law.
But they were updated the last legislative sessions.
The update 123 includes updates to the legal policies also. And so these local changes that are also part of update 123 align with those changes to the legal policy.
Okay.
And we will be going back and looking at CKEA local. And those where that's been marked out, we'll actually be doing some work on that and potentially be discussing that and bringing that to you as a report again. And so you may not see that in the October or in the September meeting. And so that's one we're going to be looking at, doing a little bit more of a deep dive in that one. The rest would be coming back into consent in the next board meeting.
Mr. Newcomb, with the latest legislation, it takes a good year for them to rewrite legal policy.
Right.
And then once that was completed, that's why you're seeing the local policy coming this late. But at this point, all departments have read the new legal and local. And at this point in time, except for the policy that Dr. Chadwell just mentioned, we did not see any major differences at all. So especially with the EFA and EFB, the instructional materials and library materials, we are already following all of that. And so again, you will not see any changes.
Okay, so the handbooks are all good, then we just.
Yes, we have updated everything.
Okay.
Dr. Waters has done an amazing job. This was a big one, and we are expecting one this large after this latest legislation that will start in January.
It looks like there are a few items on here. It looks like a little bit more powers given to the chief of police, which is kind of scratched out. It also has to be approved by the superintendent. You mind taking us through?
Which one? Can you refer to which
Weapons,
page?
carry weapons is directed by the chief of police,
Which one,
scratching out and approved by the superintendent.
The reason why is because that would require two steps to have two approvals. When in that particular situation, you'll have, for example, service being done on a Saturday, and they say, well, I'm going to work this job on a Saturday. They let them know on a Thursday. That wouldn't be able to be done without notifying me every time. And so in this case, it just allows the chief of police. They have internal regs that that have certain rules and guidelines of what they can and can't do in terms of jobs outside of the school district that would restrict certain types of employment. And so we're consistent on that part of it. So that just is more on efficiencies, having one step versus two.
And that next one seems to make sense. Carry out all other duties is directed by the chief of police. It said, or you. But so they answered to only their chief, is that right?
Yes, and so.
Since that probably should be.
Well, and think about it along the lines of municipal government. Municipal government, you have the city manager, in that case would be superintendent. In those cases, if there's any investigations and things like that to do with employment, they really work in tandem with the city's HR, but they actually have their internal review process, and all that is through state law of how police report as civil servants, and they technically report to the chief. And that's how it's set up, for example, in cities. So you don't have city managers going in and managing a sergeant or something like that. They manage the chief. And so that's what that's about.
Okay.
And you'll notice we took some things out there in terms of on page, let me find it here, page 31. Of security officers authorized to possess firearms. We're not going to allow security officers, for example, our safety and security officers, we will not allow them to carry firearms. That is only given to licensed peace officers in our police department. So we took that out just because we would not ever do that. In following with all the information again on the next page as well, which is all related to security officers. And so we're not going to give that ability. Same thing on page 33, handgun licenses, permitted weapons with ammunition. All that is specific to those safety security.
Any other questions, comments? Mr. Waters, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to Mr. Welch, construction updates.
Good evening. I've got some construction photos and some things we need to look at to show you of all the work that's been done that finished up this summer. We had the beautiful sunset with the Eagle Mountain High School. I thought that was kind of appropriate for this time. But we do have a few more things we've got to touch up on Eagle Mountain High School. The biggest one is the baseball field. So that project, as far as the turf, has been completed. And so it will be finishing up with the surrounding landscaping and where they were working, and they'll clean that up. And so by the end of September, they'll be off. That side will be completely finished and the road opened in the back. And the one on the left is just the upper gym, just showing you it's been striped. And that's all I have on Eagle Mountain High School. Got two pictures of it, just a few things, and obviously punch list items will be going on for months until we complete all those.
How did the opening go good for first week of school?
And
I mean, I look at traffic and things like that, but yeah, they had a good opening.
Any issues in the facility itself?
I'm not aware of any, no.
Maybe more for Hunter, but since I have a kid going there, Blake does too. Seems like I keep hearing a lot of their electrical issues. I know there are going to be things, electrical issues, coaches having to take home clothes to dry the clothes because they don't have a dryer. That's just stuff. Is this, I don't know if you opened a high school before, Hunter, because this is the first high school I've been involved with. Are these all pretty normal, would you say?
For campus size, unfortunately, we did schedule some things like this happen. We have a contractor who's struggling to get to the finish line, like a contractor. Things like this do happen. Unfortunately, there are certain systems that may be lacking, such as the dryer in the laundry room, and the competition room to be up and running. But it's one of those things that you don't know until things actually try to get tested or used. And unfortunately, that's the case, but I feel like the contract job. We've been working 24/7 at that campus, nights, things, you name it. People are there working. So the campus has been gracious enough to our part
And Core hired roughly around 20 extra electricians to supplement the contractor that was struggling. And going to his point
Is
about
it
that
not
work.
that we need to adjust our timeline in the future maybe for allowing for opening if they just had a few issues that are not normal, you think, with their contract?
Because of it's so large, and when you have one fail, and then you have to go through the process, it becomes very difficult to make that time up without just supplanting him. And you're talking about, over $10,000 a day of the electrician's pocket. So it's a very expensive ordeal for them to get behind.
These two, just for instance, because I know they were, later here getting done, what's the timeline of those being usable, like baseball in that upper gym, for instance?
Well, the upper gym, they've had it since the first day of the volleyball. It just wasn't.
Oh, okay.
They finished up the striping right after that.
Gotcha.
I mean,
I walked through there. I didn't know if they were using it or not. Okay.
And as soon as Core tells us that on the main field, we can safely get down there.
Because of all the surrounding stuff, really. Yeah. Okay.
So it could be before the end of September, maybe a week or so, but we'll just have to keep working with them to make it feel like a comfort level getting down there. Make sure all the handrails and things, the picture, you see the handrails, but there may be some that are on the ramps that still need to be completed. Then moving to Wayside. So really Wayside, these pictures don't do, I guess, justice to all the amount of dirt you see when you drive by Wayside, the mounds of dirt. But these two are really just focused on the main pads that Pogue is working on. So they're working on finishing those up. And so it's been progressing. They're going to start the grade beams, the piers, and then also the geothermal wells here the next month. So they're, as far as right now, they're hitting their timelines of when they're supposed to start.
And open on time then?
As of today, yes. Yeah. But we don't know right now. I mean, it's, there's a lot of unknowns about this, but right now we're on course to be there. Be there in December.
I was kidding.
How have they been? I mean, I know I'm around there, but I know one of the main community concerns is it's, probably couldn't pick a worse site in the, community to have as far as traffic and things like that for us to be doing construction. How are they doing as far as you're working with you and safety and managing things on that busy corner and all that kind of stuff?
Well, I mean, I think we did a lot of work on the front end of that. I'm sure some people are, not happy, but we reconfigured some of the paths in the main parking lot to be able to access traffic on there a little quicker. I gave them there's two ways you come in. You either come to the south or you try to cross Old Decatur and left turn it. Well, we're merging in the past to one lane. Now there's two dedicated lanes that they can go in. So that seems to be going a little smoother. And as far as the backup, it's about what it was last spring.
And I guess they're going to start playing volleyball games there at some point, volleyball.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to be able to use that parking lot, I guess. It'll be late enough to.
The main parking lot, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
The only thing they would not, if they happen to park these or used to parking in the back, that wouldn't, they wouldn't have access but in the back.
It's tight. I mean, we've been there on a couple of evenings for things.
Yeah.
With kids there. I mean, you know, you gotta pack in there pretty good. They've had to kind of divide campus wise, you know, alphabetically with an open house, just because it's, you know, it's tight in there. Just getting everybody in that.
They just have the one parking lot now instead of. And I guess they've started, the football practices started, so they've got them across the street and.
Yes. Got the officer out there and they've been working on that for about a week, 2 weeks, I guess.
We also adjusted the flashers too, so the flashers come on at Wayside now much earlier, so if you drive through there, they correspond with that practice. So they come on when the elementary Bryson comes on as well. So just to assist with that.
I think it's working, the pickup there. I think the staff's doing a great job. I don't think it's that much worse than it has been in the last 3 or 4 years, so, you know, the plan worked. I know some people may disagree with that, but it's working pretty well. The staff's working hard. There are a lot of them out there.
For sure. Agree with that. Mm-hmm.
Just some other summer projects. We have a lot of pictures, not obviously this slide, but we've got the HVAC at Highland Creek View and Saginaw Elementary. The secondary schools, their buzz-in system has been completed. Then Sublease is just going to show you playgrounds. You've got Bryson, Comanche Springs, Chisholm Ridge, Elkins, and Gillen and High Country, and Northbrook. So that was a very large project that Hunter and Aaron took on to finish this summer. And we have a lot more of them next summer to complete.
Mr. Welch, you mind pausing on the playground for just a second? I just want to take a moment. This is something that was years in the making. We've been talking about this for a long time. So I just really appreciate all the work that went into the selection of the material, the fall zone and everything. As I've talked to our elementary principals, they've been very, very excited about this. Our maintenance department's excited about not having to deal with the fallout of all the wood chips and everything. So it's been a real positive. And we've had campuses that honestly, they got more than they thought they were going to get. Added some swings like a Gilliland, for example. They were ecstatic the other day when I visited. So just really appreciate all the work that was done to dress that area up. And it looks really good as well. So thank you. Accessible for all of our students to participate. It's great.
Just some examples of the exterior improvements at some of the campuses. We have Chisholm Ridge, Comanche Springs, and Eagle Mountain. So it was just a refresh of the front area. And then some of them, you know, just putting the DG in there made a big difference on how they look and the appearance. Here's some more pictures of Gilliland, High Country, Lake Point, and Greenfield. And we still have a little bit of work on Gilliland. You can see that on the bottom left, at least for the picture. It's been completed by now. And some more work, Prairie Vista, Parkview, and Northbrook. And we got Willow Creek, but probably the most dramatic one, I think, is if you drive up Saginaw High School. They used to be, anyway, it's cleaned up, so now when you come down that drive, you can actually see the school, Saginaw High School. It really opened up that entrance there. So that's probably one of the most dramatic things that occurred. And there was just a little trip hazard project on the visitor side of the stadium that was worked on to clean that up. And Gilliland Elementary, the courtyard, these are a lot of concrete in here, some grass, just a kind of a total remake of what that looked like. I mean, it was just in pretty tough shape. And so that makes a dramatic improvement in what that was before they started.
This particular area also had a dedication zone. It's there. In fact, it's in the right picture. It's hard to see, but if you blew up behind that the left tree, that's where that memorial is. They moved the stone. They were able to move it intact, and so nothing broke. Hunter did a really good job looking. We had to move up. We had to do a lot of civil work in that area because of the water. And the grass looks great. Again, the campus administration was ecstatic. They're waiting for the grass to take hold in order to use that as a space for kids to be. And anyway, they did really, really well. So
That was gonna be my question. Thank you.
Yes.
Yep, Brother Brockman.
Yeah, with a lot of the drainage issues, and you can see the electricity that's located in that area, so that was all corrected. And some gym floor projects, Boswell, Lake Point, Comanche Springs, Chisholm Ridge, Remington Point, Northbrook, and Parkview. So here's just some more of those pictures. I'm giving them the new gym floors. And traffic signal, if you came in this afternoon, it's working. They
Yes, it
turned it on
is.
they started about 9, and then by noon it was flashing. So now they just got to clean up kind of the barricades, the small cones, the medium cones, and just clean up the area. And so it's made a big difference up in front as far as trying to get out of here, slowing down traffic. So, and I think that's all I have tonight. Are there any questions?
Questions, comments? Thank you to you and all of your
Those guys, there's a lot of projects
fabulous,
to do
yeah,
this summer.
lots of
It's a
projects.
lot.
And they, again, I mean, I think the floors, the turf, all those things, again, speaks to what we're always talking about, why our campuses look so beautiful, because the maintenance and all the things that need to be updated to keep happening. So we thank you all for that, for doing that. Thank you. Okay, finance report, Mr. Rob Welch. First thing on budget update.
Good evening, President Tolbert, Dr. Chadwell, members of the Board of Trustees. Bring forth for you tonight a budget update providing information on the 2024-2025 proposed budget. We'll recap some of this same information in the presentation for the public meeting item later on this agenda. So just quickly looking through the 2024-2025 proposed tax rate, as y'all will recall, TEA sets that for us basically through a state calculation utilizing our certified property values from year to year. That determines what our maximum compressed rate can be for the district. And then from there, we're able to apply the voter-approved 13 cents local enrichment tax rate. For this coming year, that tax rate on the M&O side goes down 23 hundredths of a penny to the statewide floor of 0.6169 for the MCR. We add our 13 cents. Our proposed M&O tax rate will be 0.7469. That's 74.69 cents. On the interest and sinking side, we're set to increase that tax rate by 8 thousandths of a penny, which is will bring that tax rate to 0.4988 per the results of the November 2023 bond election. And so overall, when we add all those together, our total tax rate is estimated to decrease from $1.2472 down to $1.2457 or 15 100ths for the 2024 tax year. When we look at the proposed budget, at this point, it captures all the plans and actions going back to the March board budget workshop. And those include the approved compensation plan, the approved staffing plans. And again, it's based off the anticipated M&O tax rates and with that overall decrease of 15 hundredths of a penny. And then careful consideration to any enhancement request. And that leaves us with a projected use of fund balance, even after all the adjustments we've made to the budget. We're going to utilize 15.7 million of fund balance this year. And that's, again, attributable to the fact that the state has not adjusted that basic allotment since 2019, where it still sits at $6,160 per student. Another little feature of the 2024-25 proposed budget is while we have had potential recapture expenditures in the prior years, this year TEA has designated through their preliminary estimates of our property value per student that EMS-ISD will qualify as a Chapter 49 recapture district for the upcoming year. Now, that's not at the Tier 1 funding level. That's actually lower in the calculation process. It's actually in the recapture portion of Tier 2, Level 2, where the guaranteed yield has not changed in the state funding formula to compensate for the values of properties changing in the state. And so we're coming in above that level a little bit, and so we'll have at this point, they're projecting an expenditure to send back to the state. TEA did provide approval of our proposed property wealth equalization method. That's one of the things that we have to do before we set the tax rate once we are designated by TEA as a Chapter 49 recapture district. Your actions at the last meeting provided Dr. Chadwell the responsibility to make the appropriate notifications and intents with TEA in order for them to approve and allow us to move forward setting our tax rate.
Have they ever rejected one that you know of?
I am not aware of one.
Okay.
I've been through the process. Prior districts were where I was a Tier 1, Chapter 41 at that time, recapture district. And it is a lengthy process, but I have not experienced a disapproval.
So that's just a formality, you think, the legislature put in there to fill out all this paperwork and spend all this time to?
I think it's just a litmus test to make sure that it's reasonable. And so I think, so districts are not getting down the road before they take appropriate action with setting their tax rate in an appropriate and reasonable amount. But I've not personally experienced that.
Okay, thanks.
Then if we look at our 2024-2025 proposed budget, similar to what you've seen before, I won't walk through all of the lines here. I'll simply note that when we look at that first column where our proposed amount is $260 million, almost $0.9 million. You'll notice in several of those lines, especially like I think Mr. Newcomb, you pointed out at the last meeting that our proposed numbers for instruction and instruction-related services such as instructional resources and media. Overall, we're seeing increases in those functions where our dedication remains strong in the classroom, and despite other places where we've had to scale back some under the current model. Over on the revenue side, we're looking at a total of $245.1 million. In difference, like I said, that's a $15.7 million use of fund balance. On the Child Nutrition Fund, again, this usually comes to you as a net zero budget, and we've done that for you again this year, where our expenditures of $14.9 million are roughly right there at the same level as our revenues, projected revenues at $14.9 million. This is the first year since 2016-17 that we have moved forward with some meal price increases. That's just because of the inflationary factors that we've seen in the last couple of years in order to maintain that budget. And it's, again, based on our current reimbursement rates. On the interest and sinking fund, we have, again, supported by that tax rate of 0.4988. We have within this budget our scheduled debt payments from our existing bond obligations, along with an opportunity to defease a minimum of $500,000 from the Series 2011 variable rate bonds. The defeasance is an action item later on tonight's agenda as part of the budget adoption process. And in preparation for that item, we did provide a revised order that structures this defeasance as a prepayment to an escrow account versus a call of bonds due to the timing of the recent remarketing of that bond series. And so the effect is still the same, and the recommendations are still the same. By taking action to defease these bonds now, The district will save taxpayers an estimated $550,000 in future interest cost on that alone. So the bonds will defease on August 1st, 2025. If values through the year allow for an additional amount, at that time, we'll make an additional recommendation before next August to defease an additional amount and create additional savings for our taxpayers.
So just pause there just for a second. So later, we're going to be talking about the Tarrant Appraisal District resolution. There's a direct connection back to this, which is when we do have the capacity to pay off debt, we do, which is save taxpayers tens, hundreds of millions of dollars over the life of these bonds that have been approved. This is an example of why, if you're not able to do this over the life, taxpayers will actually spend more if we don't pay that debt off earlier. Just like if we came into some funds, we may pay down debt, a mortgage or something like that, versus holding on to that money or even investing that money. You pay off debt is what you do. And that's what we do when we have the resources in which to do this. And so there's other elements that we'll talk about when we get to the TAD appraisal, district resolution, but this is one specific to that area. And so you'll find examples of this. This is for those of listening or watching, this is all over our website of how much money has been saved over the course of all these bonds. And this is one reason why we're so animated about having the negative effect, because that means if this had been in place a few years ago, you wouldn't see this. You wouldn't see $500,000 being paid down on variable rate bonds or any other bond structure. You would just be breaking even. So I just wanted to point that out just as you go through it.
No, absolutely. You see, that $500,000 equates to $550,000 on the interest side. And so significant savings. So like I said, that order allows for additional savings if we're able to afford it and identify it at that time. And we'll definitely take a look at that as we get closer to August. So with that, that's all the information I have on the budget update in regards to 2024-25 budget. Of the 2023-2024, we'll cover with the budget amendment. If there's any questions.
Questions? Comments? Okay. I think you are up again for the 2023-2024 budget amendments, please.
Very well. Okay. And so with the final budget amendment for 2023-2024, we have that provided. It comes in two separate reports that we provide for you. The first one is that description of the amending events, how they impact revenues or expenditures. And then the second report just culminates all those particular events into the appropriate accounting lines and provide our proposed amendments, proposed transfers, and then what the proposed amended budget would be in that second report. The key pieces of this as we come to the close of the 2023-2024 year, as you can see there, there's 8 general areas that were impacted. The reduction of our tax levy amounts after the new homestead and frozen values were completed. Those calculations came through, of course, after the fact because the legislature voted. Then we had to have the general election, and then they're able to calculate what those actual differences were. So all those impacts have been now flushed all the way through the system. Then along with that, the reduction of delinquent taxes and the increased refunds from the prior year tax collections, which was part of that legislative action to go back and hold harmless the effects of moving the homestead exemption from $25,000 to $40,000 and then to $100,000 on the over 65 frozen homestead exemptions. Then we had state aid increases. We have some updated state certified values that just came in, along with some other prior year certified values that have rolled through that had culminated to additional state funding some of that to offset changes in the in the local tax collections, but also primarily tied to the certified values. And then updated special student populations, primarily in the area of comp ed, was one of the biggies that we saw there. And then again, the property audits from prior years that have flowed through. Additional reduction in the expected SHARS revenue. We'll continue to see challenges there, but we're working with to compensate for that going forward. Those challenges as we deal with the federal changes and continue to see changes that are flowing down at the state level and challenges at the state level. We're continuing to monitor that as well as work to adjust budgets in the future tied to it.
So the SHARs went down by $1,350,000 from what we had projected they were going to give us. And the reason is they changed something on the allocation?
They changed the qualifying times as well as the as far as the actual services that qualify, as well as the percentage modifier that gives us our amount. So districts throughout the state saw significant decreases in how the money's been distributed from the feds for the current year.
And this is specific with Texas. And so there was some, Dr. Hughes may want to fill in the blanks, but please. Because this is something that's pretty significant, and it's something we've been talking about because you spend money to save money. So we have a staff member that oversees this on a daily basis. We may need to expand that, because if you can't account for all the services, you can't get reimbursed. So, Dr. Hughes.
Correct, and so it was another situation where the actual guidelines for Medicaid reimbursement were actually published in 2016. And Texas established its own way of allowable services that they allowed to be billed. And so when the government then audited, they found that Texas had actually been overpaid for services that had been provided. And so as a result of the audit, not only did we lose funds across the state that the state then shared or took from school districts, but then they also changed the reimbursement rates and then the types of services that can be reimbursed.
Kind of retroactively then.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So just to note, this happened the same year that they didn't fund us. So this is an unfunded liability at the state level. The state made the error. And that's unfortunate for us. And they, like you said, they've changed the system. So we're really working closely with our consultant out of Houston, which is Houston ISD, to determine that we're doing everything we can to get reimbursed. So.
Yes. And we've made changes too on how we're obtaining consents, but now they're requiring actual multi-step process. We have to get physician referrals for services that we were able to get reimbursed for without requiring physician referrals. And then the speech therapists have to have referrals, although they can refer themselves now for their evaluations as well as any therapy that's recommended based upon the evaluations that we complete.
So did the state have the option of not taking it from the school districts?
Well, what would have been hopeful, since it was their error, that they would have done an amendment to their budget in order to address this fall of funding, at least for a bridge of 1 to 2 years. Not that we should necessarily expect that, but it would have been nice, because
if only they had $80 billion they could help.
It would be nice. Well, we found out in the middle of the year, and that was the hard part. We're already in the middle of the budget cycle of 23-24 when we find this out. And so we had to adjust to midstream. And if y'all remember when we put this in, this is years ago, part of this was to provide the level of support we want to at every school of having an RN to be able to do everything we want to do and not use what we consider substandard services, but it was paid for in part in CHARS. So there was a motivator there to do that. So we have not changed our service model, though. We've left our service model the same.
Additional items on the budget amendment would be our TRS adjustments for the on behalf Medicare Part D and other rate changes. Those are actually a flow through, so they modify revenues as well. They're actually a wash, but we have to reflect the increase both on the expenditure and revenue side with the on behalf expenditures. Then we saw an increase in utility expenses with the some extreme weather that we dealt with, along with the addition of with the new high school and some additional equipment purchases, just getting the startup rolling on it before we get into the next budget year. And then we also have to reflect the remarketing of the Series 2011 variable rate bonds that we just discussed a little bit earlier. That also shows up on the you'll see that on the debt service budget as reflections of selling off the old ones or closing out the old ones and then establishing the new bonds with that. So with that, if we flip over to page 105, you will see you'll see the total revenues up there on the right at 251.5 million, along with expenditures down at the bottom of 253.3. That nets on page 106, top right-hand corner, about $1.8 million use of fund balance is what this budget will reflect at the end of the year. With by the time we get through the audit, we anticipate that will probably be able to negate most of that, where it will actually be relatively flat for the 2023-2024 year. And we're hoping that that's where we end up. And if we do that, that will put us at 106 days of fund balance for 2023-2024. Keep you posted as we progress through the audit, but that's where we're at right now with our projections. If there are any questions about the budget amendment, I'd be happy to address those. Other than that,
Questions, comments? Okay,
we'll
Thank
bring it
you.
back for action here in just a bit.
okay.
Thanks for all the work on that.
And I think you're still up, property and casualty insurance policies.
All right. Property and casualty. So there are two major categories within the annual coverages that we look at. The first is property coverage, which is typically 9% or more of the total cost. This is where we've seen the significant increases in recent years due to part the impact on what we've seen as far as the insurance market for natural disasters here in Texas, along with, well, Winter Storm Uri was a biggie that changed the market for us. But then also the impact of hyperinflation in the construction market and what that's done to drive up our replacement cost. AMS ISD, along with other school districts throughout the state, have seen this cost increase from just under $1 million in 2019, 2020 to last year. It was 5.4 million for 2023, 2024. So that's a $4.4 million annual increase, and that's $4.4 million annually in our budget. That's not accounted for as an itemized impact within any of the state funding formulas, and has to be paid out of the same basic allotment, again, going back to 2019. So again, we're seeing at this point 4.4 million more than what we did. And that's year after year. But it's a significant hit to school district budgets. And so just pointing that out as there are a lot of needs for school districts across the state, and that's one of the drivers. So for the 2024-2025 year, the district hit the market with good timing, as we're seeing an actual decrease right now in the cost of the property insurance, all things equal from the year before, plus a full year of coverage for the new Eagle Mountain High School. So with that, the quoted cost came in just under 5.5 million. Compared to last year, it would have been at 5.7 million, or would take into account the addition of Eagle Mountain High School for that last bit of the year or last bit of the summer when we took possession. Again, in order to provide the district's $400 million in stop loss coverage, the layering schematic required 23 different insurance companies to keep an idea on scale on what it requires in this market right now. So the stop loss amount is one of the key components that we review annually, especially as we've been growing in square footage, but also as we've seen the replacement costs they've just increased significantly, no doubt. At today's construction cost and the total potential cost for pockets of properties within close proximity of one another, I think it is prudent to consider increasing the stop loss amount at this time. And we have received quotes to move from the $400 million level to $500 million or the $600 million stop loss level. And so looking at everything, I would recommend that the board consider the $600 million stop loss value as an additional cost of $288,936.50. It would put our total property coverage cost at $5,757,253.94. And so again, just looking at proximity where we're at, cost of construction, just in this vicinity of buildings in proximity between Chisholm Trail High School, this building, Marine Creek, and Hollenstein, that in itself is over $600 million in replacement costs. And so something to consider.
Is this the biggest area of risk right now, the one we're in?
It is.
Concentrated?
Yes, yes. I consider this kind of group one, priority one, from that standpoint being the largest amount. You could almost tack in Remington Point because it's proximity. I don't even have that figured into the number. And then I have 2 or 3 other groupings that get up into the $200 and $300 million levels easily. And so, if you hit multiple groupings, then yeah, we're that $600 million is more than justified. So.
And is that the one that took 23 does that add more insurance entities involved?
We end up the very bottom, very last insurer in that group is picking up a significant amount of that 400 million. It's picking up, I think, the last 100 million. They have agreed to pick up the additional 200 million.
They've agreed to pick it all up?
Yes, for that amount. So we would stay at 23 at least. But yes, if we have a claim, just the bare basic claim, there will be 7 insurance providers that are part of the first claim, first dollar that is divided up against. We would receive money from 7 different insurance companies under the market that we work with now in Texas. So that takes care of property, or at least any questions around the property proposal?
Any questions?
Okay. Let me move forward then. The balance of the coverages would be our policies for liability, auto, and those other non-property coverages. Total proposed cost of those is $546,900.03, which is an increase of $168,186 compared to last year. As the district continues to grow, those liability coverages, we'll continue to see increases there. And then, that includes auto, which is similar to what we're seeing with our personal auto coverages. Just the cost of repairing vehicles has caused, in general, has caused an overall inflation in the auto insurance market. We did analyze a coverage option from Texas Political Subdivisions, which is a joint self-insurance fund that would be, it would be a savings of $176,656 versus where we're at with that renewal proposal. But we did find that there were several gaps in coverage. and the reduced limits that would also be an exposure. Not to mention, when we looked at our claims trends and found that the additional cost in the deductibles, they have higher deductibles, that would also further dissolve any savings by going down that road with that option. So at this point, we'd recommend that we move forward with the base package and the renewal for the non-property products being liability, auto, employer liabilities. And so with that, later on the agenda, we do have an action item for this to be able to put this into place and bind coverage effective September 1. Our total cost for all coverages, moving to the $600 million stop loss for property, and then keeping that base renewal for the non-property coverages, would bring our total to $6,304,153.97. And so that will be our recommendation at that time. And that is within our budget that we put forth and proposed. We actually, early in the process, we had set aside about twice that amount of that increase. We're, again, very fortunate to hit the market when we did and pull some savings and be able to relieve our expenditure budget as we brought back proposed for some savings there.
I think the 600 million is necessary.
Yes.
Anybody- Let's talk about it now.
Absolutely.
Only if something happens.
That's what insurance.
If it happens, it's totally unnecessary.
Yeah.
To one place, for sure. But I don't think there's any good reason to leave it at 400 million. when
Neither.
We're sitting right here looking at the 600
Right.
million.
I agree. Well, you have insurance.
Yeah, it's,
Hopefully we won't need it, but.
yeah, I've got, again, several other groupings that are 350 million apiece. So you just capture anything there. Yes, sir.
So when we get to the action item, can you give recommendation language with that amount that you gave and the options that they've shared of the 600 million?
Absolutely. In fact, at your place, I provided
Oh, we have it. Good. Thank you.
I provided a
Writing off that.
revised cover sheet with the
Okay. Never mind.
recommendation. It will capture option B,
We have it.
which is the $600 million.
Well,
Stop
there is a
loss.
slight difference in number on the
Is-
what's in the state. What was that, do you know?
Okay. 603.
It shows 6,304,000.
304, this is 630. Is it supposed to be 603?
I'll get clarification on that before you get to that action item and make sure that we are clear there. 6304. So if you, yes, if you will follow the amount in the
It's
total
correct,
here,
correct.
that's on the sheet, that coincides with the amount.
That's why you had
that,
an
I-
adjustment because
yeah,
the.
I just
yeah,
provide-
the board
yes.
book, Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why you have a update revised.
Yes, and yes, that's actually the amount I was able to read off here, so I think we do tie, and I will say let's roll with that recommendation. Get there. I appreciate
Thank
double
you.
checking that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Our last report, thank you, Rob. Any other questions or any comments? Our last report of the evening is Human Resources. This is high school. Workers' compensation coverage.
I know you were so hoping for the 5 o'clock session.
We're sorry.
Yeah.
It's okay. Madam President, Dr. Chadwell, Board of Trustees, I bring to you guys the workers' comp interlocal agreement that we have with Edwards Risk Management. They serve as a third-party administrator that handles all of our workers' comp claims, as well as wellness programs that we have twice a year. In addition, they handle our loss prevention. This new agreement will actually saved the district over $177,000. And that is because of the collaboration between the district as well as Edward Risk Management, ensuring that we provide extensive training to all employees as it relates to any risk management entities that do occur in the district. I will actually bring the agreement later on as an action item for approval. With this, it will be a 5-year interlocal agreement that will be effective, if it is approved, effective September 1st through 2029. Are there any questions?
You had to be here anyway, then. You're
Right.
Questions, anything?
Right.
No, thank you so very much. Okay, now we will move on to action items. And the first one is to conduct a public meeting to discuss the budget and proposed tax rate. So at this time, 8:21 PM, on behalf of the Eagle Mountain Saginaw ISD, I declare an open meeting to discuss the budget and proposed tax rate. Mr. Welch.
Well, I will open by saying that we provided a lot of detail on the 2024-25 budget just a few minutes ago in our budget update. So I'll be brief in what we're providing here tonight for the public meeting. Just real quickly, we, as a district, we provide all the ample notices, provided the notice of budget tax rate, published it in the Star Telegram as well as on our webpage. It's also on the Tarrant Tax Info taxpayer website hosted by Tarrant Postal District, and as well as our proposed budget summaries. And so all the information has, again, been out there. We've run everything through Texas Education Agency for their appropriate approvals in order to move forward. One of the things that I will note as we get into this, and again, we do have our proposed budget summary out on the website showing our comparison to actuals of the 2023-2024 per student. And then again, a restatement of our general fund, child nutrition fund, and debt service funds, as we have already provided in the budget update. Again, recapping that we're looking at $15.7 million in use of fund balance under the current budget proposal and the state finance system that we have in place right now. For the M&O budget, we're looking at a net zero budget for child nutrition, and then about a little over $900,000 use of fund balance for our interest in sinking debt service budget. One of the tax rate calculations that I'd like to note that is a requirement and is provided again in the appropriate publications on our website, as well as out on the Tarrant Tax Info website and available to citizens. One of the rates that is highlighted in that process is the no new revenue rate. And I think it's important to note in this setting that no new revenue rate is really geared towards municipalities and other taxing entities. It is a very simple look at only the local tax collection level of our total revenue. Our total revenue comes from an equalizing formula from the state where we have local revenue and state revenue that come together based off of our funding per student. When they say the no new revenue rate should be less than the proposed tax rate that we have in place, which again is set by Texas Education Agencies, the state maximum compressed rate schedule and calculation, that there's a misunderstanding that we could set a tax rate as low as that no new revenue rate, and that's not the case. If we were able to, if we did that, that would actually be a decrease of $2.5 million to the district. It is not it's not a same revenue level because it does not take into account what happens with the state funding side of the funding formula. And so It's really not a relevant calculation for school districts in the way of accurately understanding that it's not no new revenue from the standpoint of what's out there. What it does do, though, is it does put specific requirements on us as a school district when we go to adopt our tax rate. And that's why we still have to look at it and know what it is, because when we get to the tax rate adoption, there will be specific language that's required that says that we actually are increasing the tax rate. And obviously we actually have just decreased our tax rate from the prior year by 0.15 of a penny. The calculation through this process will say that we are increasing that tax rate 1.47%, which is not the case. It also will say there's also a requirement within the language that was in the adoption order that will state that we have an increase to M&O taxes that will affect a $100,000 home by an increase of negative $2.30. And so again, very statutory language, not necessarily relevant to the situation school districts are in when it comes to how the state funding formula interacts with our overall revenue. But those are requirements in order to affect the tax rate. So I just, as part of this public setting, public meeting, I wanted to provide some clarification on that for our public to know that no new revenue is not accurate. That is, it actually is a detriment to the district funding at that level. So with that, again, we've provided all the information, and we would be just available for comment at this point after providing the details in the prior session.
Okay. Do y'all have any comments? At this time, 8:28 p.m., the hearing is open to public comment. Are there any requests from the audience to speak on this agenda item? Being none at this time at 8:28 p.m., the public meeting is closed. Does board members have anything they want to ask about? Okay, thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Actually, you need to stay up here. Now we're going to consider adoption of the 2024-2025 accelerated instruction budget. You have several things.
We do have several things in this process. So the first item I believe that we have in the adoption process is to consider the accelerated instruction budget where the district has identified funds throughout the budget that would address accelerated instruction for our at-risk learning environments with a total of $9,562,747. You can see the functional breakdown provided within your board packet, and we would recommend that the board move to approve this portion of the budget.
Make a motion, we adopt the 24-25 accelerated instruction budget as presented.
Motion by Steve, second by Paige and Ron. Any discussion? All in favor? Anybody yet? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Now we have the adoption of the 24-25 budget. Mr. Welch.
I make a motion that we adopt the 2024-2025 maintenance and operation interest and sinking and child nutrition budgets as presented earlier.
Second.
Motion by Tim, second by Blake. Any discussion? All in favor? Anybody opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. And Mr. Welch, again, you're up.
And so next item, prior to setting the tax rate, is we would ask to make the recommendation for the board to approve the order to defease at this point $500,000 of the series 2011 variable rate bonds And that number is a minimum that we can bring back before August if we need to increase that.
I move that we approve all matters incident and related to providing for the defeasance and redemption of certain outstanding obligations of the district, including the adoption of an order pertaining thereto as presented.
Second.
Motion by Steve, second by Tim. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Mr. Welch, adopt ordinance to set the tax rate.
So with all those pieces in place, now we are legally able to move forward and adopt the tax rate. We have a recommendation and specific motion language tied to the proposed tax rate of 0.7469 for M&O, 0.4988 for INS, total tax rate $2457 for the 2024 tax year as provided. If somebody would, we recommend utilizing the motion language in the action item.
I'll make a motion to, that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of $1.2457 per 100 evaluation, which is effectively a 1.47% increase in the tax rate.
Second.
Motion by Tim, second by Ron. Any discussion?
So as we discussed earlier with confusing language and this and that, the reality is the tax rate is, we are decreasing the tax rate.
We are decreasing the tax rate 15 hundredths of a penny. Yes, we are.
I just want to make that clear. We are.
Yes.
Even though I was forced to read
Even
that
that, yeah.
we're increasing it.
Correct.
So in spite of that, we are decreasing the tax rate.
We are decreasing the tax rate.
So we, yeah, okay.
Hero.
Just making sure.
I was forced to.
We are clear.
That statement, that's.
And have for several years, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. If we look at records that are on our website, very
Yes.
transparently, that's happened repeatedly
Yes.
by this board and the school district, correct?
Because, yes, because the
correct.
state makes us read it that way.
Right. But we're committed to,
Yes, on the document we actually
Correct.
sign, it will say an increase of a negative 2.3. Yeah.
increase of a negative.
Yes. Will not even
Because of
allow us
what
to
they
use the
do.
word decrease. It
Yeah, we just
requires
have
us
to
to
put
say
it- we just have to use a
increase,
negative
so we have
number.
to show up a
Well, this
negative.
is, this is
impact
also
of
the same
taxpayers.
language, if, correct me if I'm wrong, that they force us to use on our bond.
Yes.
When we go out for bond elections, it says that we were going to be forced to increase the tax rate, which we were effectively decreasing it, or it would be zero tax rate hike to our voters, but they force us to say that it's going to be an increase, which is a lie.
That is
Put it at the
correct.
ballot box.
And that's they being Texas legislature, which then would make us look like we are lying, which is not the case.
That is correct.
Thank you, Dr. Tolbert. Just to be
So,
clear.
again, any other discussion or comments? Again, I have a motion by Tim, second by Ron. All in favor? Anybody opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Mr. Welch, you're still up
Still up.
on the budget amendment, 23-24 budget amendment.
Make a motion to approve the budget amendment for August.
Second.
Motion by Tim, second by Blake. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries 7-0, none opposed. Okay,
It's got one more.
yes, one more, property and casualty insurance.
I make a motion to approve the Brown and Brown Property and Casualty Insurance Proposal for 2024, 2025 with option B for a total cost of $6,304,153.97.
Second.
Who was that? Steve, sorry. Okay, motion by Tim, second by Steve. Any discussion? All in favor? 7-0, none opposed, motion carries. Right, thank you, Mr.
I will
Welch.
take a break.
Yes, you will. This high school, sorry.
I at least wanted to let her get up to the podium.
Gonna let her walk up here?
Well, she's been here all.
That's
evening,
true.
waiting
Let her-
for this
that's
action item
true.
to take place. I gotta find it first, though. I move that we approve the Brown and Brown property and casualty insurance proposal for 24-25.
Second.
Okay, motion by Tim, motion by Steve, second by Tim, sorry. Any discussion? All in favor? 7 noes, no one opposed. Motion carries 7-0.
Good job.
Thank you very much.
That wasn't my motion.
Oh.
I was afraid.
No, I did the one with Edwards Risk Management. That was the one previously.
Whoops.
Here we were trying to get there, right?
Workers' compensation coverage.
Tim, I blame that on you.
It's on page 262.
262. I move that we approve the renewal of the 5-year interlocal agreement with Workers' Compensation Solutions, Edward Risk Management Incorporated.
Second.
There it is.
Motion by Blake, second by Ron. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries 7-0, no one opposed.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for setting us straight. I was trying to keep up with who was making the motion. Okay, the next one is Dr. Gamal, approving human resource systems analysts.
Good evening, President Tolbert, Dr. Chadwell, Board of Trustees. What I'm bringing to you tonight as an action item you read about previously in your board update. So since 2018, the Human Resource Department has actually contracted services of a systems analyst. This is a position we have in the district in student management systems and also in finance. The need arose in human resources as we really work to make processes more efficient, to really move out of paper-based hiring in alignment with Aspire 2025 at the time, also to make more data-driven decisions. What this required, of course, is an analyst that can actually use our Skyward systems and build systems within the database that allow us to retrieve data at a pretty rapid pace. So things like our resignation process, we did not have that prior to contracting with these services, but now we're able to say, this is where people have resigned, this is where they're going. This is simple as pulling a report. A lot of our compensation data and analysis that we do, the numbers we're able to pull for you quickly, it all has come through this work that we have had to contract out. We really have not had an FTE for it. Recently, we had a transfer of one of our personnel specialists into the purchasing department. We have built so many systems within the HR department with the growth of the district that what we're asking is to repurpose an existing FTE. So this would be revenue neutral because basically we would use the money that we are contracting with in addition to the funded FTE, and it actually will produce about a $52,000 savings as we're talking about budget deficits, to bring that work in-house because we cannot lose the efficiencies that we've created at this point with this work. We actually need to build upon it, expand it, and keep moving it forward. So this action item is asking permission to do just that.
Just one other thing I just wanted to say also, although it lives in human resources, in some districts, this position would be in the business office. There's a lot of functions of this particular role that actually works directly with the business office. And payroll and all different areas, also with educational services. So for me personally, I approve every transfer, every resignation, every hire, and all that used to be pushed to me manually, and now it's through a system. I get notified that there's something in the Skyward system. I go in, I'm able to make those adjustments, and so it's greatly made our system more efficient. The other thing is she's able to do analysis for us in different areas to look at potential efficiencies. Which has been very helpful, and so it's been a very valuable position for us to do. The individual in question that we've used for contracted service hasn't been available in the past for any kind of full-time employment with us, and is now available. So it's kind of a lot, stars have aligned to be able to move forward with make that determination.
So so Skyward doesn't have this capability in itself in the program. So you're taking the Skyward program, and I always get nervous when you're writing your own programs because they're only as good as that person that wrote them. And so if they're not a canned program, so to speak, that Birdville and HEB and everybody's using it. It's our unique software.
It is actually the use of Skyward. So Skyward does have the capability to do this kind of work. We haven't had the resource within-house to use Skyward at that
Got you.
level.
Okay.
So what we've done is contracted with an expert all these years who's really proficient at the use of the system we already own. So we're getting more out of Skyward than we've ever been able to.
We're not writing a program that goes with Skyward. We're just
Right.
utilizing features inside the Skyward
Yes.
program.
Absolutely,
All
which
right, thank you.
has been transformative.
So it doesn't change the base programming at all.
At all.
We see the same thing in student management system as well, where we have Sean Lee, who used to work for Skyward. And so he's able to write really specific programs to help us with all of our registration, for example. Then that's using the Skyward system. So it's not a secondary system with a platform or an umbilical connected over. It's directly in the system. I go two places, either Skyward Student or Skyward Business for everything.
Yep.
And it all actually asks in a task area, which is really nice. This is how she's done it, because it's there in the task area. And she's also, this is an example. It sends me an email that says something's there, which is important because my goal is to hire as quickly as possible, or evaluate, and if the person, we're going to hire them, to do it as quickly as possible. And so rather than me going into Skyward constantly, and that took a pretty heavy lift in order to do that. And now it sends me a notification, and it'll send me 4 notifications in a day if I have an approved position. And those kinds of things help us to be more efficient. And that's something that Skyward will do, but you have to have someone do it. You have to actually write not the code, but the.
Well, yeah, it's somewhat like code. And so we've moved from having to scan a paper and email it to Dr. Chadwell for every single hire to him getting notified, but not just for hires, for resignations, for him to accept a resignation, for him to approve a transfer. I mean, it is all done within the system. And it's taken some years to build it and build everyone's capacity in the system for it. We also had to train principals. You know, now you're going to do transfers in the system. So there's been a lot of development in the system over the years to get to that point, which is why we can't go back, right? Like now people actually have the skill set in the use of the system. And we'll just keep expanding as the district grows and you have more and more employees. We want to do more self-service. It used to be that employees had to write a letter and send it to their principal to turn in a resignation. Now it's self-service. They go in Skyward, click a button, we all get notifications. He gets it electronically and he can approve it seconds. So
There's also a survey that was sent out. There was a separate survey sent out, and we had to combine those two. Now, I don't have one here right now, but I just pulled it up. My task manager, if I pressed on that, not only would the resignation be there, it would be the survey. So I could see in those 10 areas that we ask about what's there, and also a letter of resignation. It's all pulled into one place. And so it's cut down my time to make these decisions to, I don't know.
Do we have somebody in mind for this position, or we already
The
have?
person who we're contracting with service right now is available for full-time employment in this role.
I move we approve the human resources systems analyst as presented.
Second.
Motion by Paige, second by Ron. Any other discussion? All in favor? Anybody opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Dr. McEmerald. Mr. Lee, you have a couple of items.
Good evening, President Colbert, members of the board, Dr. Chadwell. The district advertised a request for a competitive seal proposal for the replacement of mechanical equipment at 5 campuses, Chisholm Ridge, Greenfield, High Country, Remington Point, and Hafley Development Center. 3 vendors provided proposals: Century Mechanical, Infinity Contractor, and Joesta Construction. All provided qualified bids that met the scope at each campus. After review of the bids and the qualifications, it was determined that we would award 2 contractors and divvy up work associated with multiple campuses. For example, Infinity Contractors would be awarded the work at Chisholm Ridge and High Country Elementary School, while Century Mechanical would be awarded work at Greenfield, Remington Point, and Hafley Development Center. The funding for this project would come out of the 2023 bond. And so the total recommendation is to award Infinity Contractors a total of $1,842,980 for the work at Chisholm Ridge and High Country. Century's contract would be $3,452,000 with the work associated with Greenfield, Remington, and Halfley Development Center for a total project amount to be $5,294,000, $294,980, excuse me.
So moved.
Motion by Ron, second by Paige. Any discussion?
Is this about the amount we allocated in the 2023 bond?
It is. We're under budget right now, if you add into our consultants' fees as well, so we're right under the budget. We're actually able to do a couple of alternates that our maintenance department had requested, so we're actually able to get more value for the funds we had.
Great, thank you.
Nice. Any other questions or comments? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Mr. Lee, permanent water facilities with the city, Fort Worth.
The city of Fort Worth is requesting a permanent water facility easement for CPN 104387, Chapel Hill West Phase 1, parcel 414-53468. Benjamin Thomas Survey, abstract number 1497, to allow Meritage Homes of Texas and Green Brick Edgewood to install a water line for the district's future developments. In order for the water taps to be installed, an executed easement is required. The recommendation is to approve the City of Fort Worth permanent water facility easement. Any questions?
So moved.
Second.
So is this, I mean, I'm looking at the location here, is this on, it's,
So this is south of Colonial Heights, west of Cibolo Hills, our property.
And in honor of Mr. Elkins, what are we getting from the city of Fort Worth?
Water tap. We're getting a water tap on our property, so we do not have to install water to our property. It'll be provided as soon as.
Fair trade then?
Sure.
Good hesitation there.
So I have a motion by Ron, second by Paige. Any other discussion or questions, comments? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
And Mr. Rob Welch, one more time.
Very well. All right, trustees. We have before you a resolution that opposes the Tarrant Appraisal District 2025-2026 reappraisal plan. It takes into account that on August 9th, 2024, Tarrant Appraisal District Board of Directors adopted the 2025-2026 reappraisal plan, affecting a 3-year freeze on residential property values in Tarrant County. This reappraisal plan, as adopted, cannot accurately reflect the prevailing market conditions in the North Texas region, which will penalize Eagle Mountain Saginaw ISD and other Tarrant County public schools under the state finance formula. Furthermore, the plan limits capturing the growth that is supportive of the interest in sinking budgets funding of voter-approved bond election projects, as well as we talked about as an example earlier of even being able to manage the district's tax rate and debt and provide savings to our taxpayers through other means that actually should be more beneficial to them. Ultimately, we feel these actions will reduce educational opportunities for students. With that, we provide a resolution to that regard in your packet and available for any discussion.
I make a motion to approve a resolution opposing the Tarrant County Appraisal District's 2025-2026 reappraisal plan as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion by Steve, motion by Tim, second by Steve, sorry. Any discussion?
We don't like what they have proposed, and, I think, as one of our speakers said earlier, this not really do anything. We can't stop them from doing it. So I think several school districts are lifting their voices with the same, sorry,
No, you're good.
with a same opposition. So I think it's
Absolutely.
good for them to hear the message from this school district that, we don't feel like that's fair. There's a lot of whereas to it too.
Agree, and I will say that several of us have gone to several different meetings for the appraisal. Jim spoke, Mr. Bose and I spoke. I mean, we have voiced our opinions and let them know how it is going to affect our district and other districts. Ask them to please pause, think about this, don't make the move. So we have been active trying to encourage them to take a step back, but as of now, that they've passed it. So.
Mind if I say
No,
something? Okay.
please.
And I do appreciate Dr. Tolbert and Mr. Bose going to the meeting and sharing what their concerns were. When I went to the meeting along with many other school districts, we shared specifically that this plan wasn't in consideration of school finance law or the effects on school districts. And there was some common themes that came out. Number one is school finance is complicated and you don't understand what is going to happen. Another is that there could be unintended consequences or will be unintended consequences that would happen as a result of the reappraisal plan. We've asked for a pause, like as you shared, and let's work together and look at this in partnership. And also a really common thread of concern about the taxpayers, because something that I shared in writing and have shared with others as well is that talk about direct relationship to taxpayers. Every time you, as an elected board that just set the tax rate, go to a Walmart or a CVS, or you're at church or you're mowing your front yard, you're going to see somebody and they're going to ask you and do ask you about the district's budget. They ask you about taxes. We're directly accountable to our community. I was directly accountable to my next door neighbor yesterday, just talking about all of these things. And I do feel that way, and it should be that way. And so for Tarrant Appraisal District to take that on their own, we feel like their mission is to properly appraise property. They have a mission to be accurate about that, to do that with a high level of customer service, responsiveness, accuracy. Their job is not to do what you just did a few seconds ago, which is to set a tax rate for what a school district needs to operate. If people have concerns, they had a moment just a few moments ago to convey what their concerns would be in public and to share that with you directly as an elected board. And for them to take on that function, I believe is inappropriate. What we learned after the vote was taken, and only one person voted against the plan, was that the unintended consequences are now intended, because exactly what we said would happen happened. A few days later, the city of Fort Worth voted for the first tax rate increase in 30 years. Every school district around have talked about the effect. We just talked about it a few minutes ago on the defeasance of debt. None of this is a surprise at all. What's unfortunate is the expertise of the people in the room was not listened to. So I can only think that the people were arrogant and thought they knew better, or that they just didn't care that that knowledge was in the room. Either way, it's really unfortunate. And what I just said a moment ago, I put in writing. I shared that in open letter. I don't necessarily enjoy that, but I feel a responsibility to our community. And as I shared with individuals, I said, we should worry about our children's children. We should worry about the people that will pay more debt in the future, because we're not going to manage debt properly today, because we're going to eliminate our ability to pay down debt early. Not to mention, and we haven't even said this, y'all are aware of it, is that when you push off certain things, construction process elevate. And so our high school that went from 201 million to 271 in 6 months, if you built that today, it'd be 350 million. And so 1 year of waiting on something because you don't have the ability to pay for it can cause incredible construction increases. So I feel like I need to share all that. I know y'all are aware of it, but just for the public to know that although this resolution may be ignored, what we hope is all together that there'll be a voice there. And we do hope that the elected members and the appointed members of that board in the future would see us as a partner to work on behalf of taxpayers and on behalf of the next generation of children that will inherit all of this. They will inherit every decision that we're making right now. And Tarrant County is making a mistake in the direction it's going on behalf of our children and our children's children. And so I really feel like that this is important, that this responsibility lies with the elected board, and also that it's a legislative function at the state level. Although we may disagree with decisions that are made at the state level, it is their decision. And when they do tax rate compression and they pay for it, which is great, okay? They pay for it out of sources we're not always happy about, but they're making those decisions. That's not something that we feel like should be done at the county level, at the appraisal district level. So that's my thoughts. So thank you for letting me share that.
Of course. Said it very well. Mr. Welch has been there several times as well. So yeah, it's ludicrous, but anyway, we don't need to belabor that point. So again, we have a motion by Tim, a second by Steve. All in favor? No one's opposed. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you all very much. Okay, that concludes all our action items. So routine monthly reports, are there any questions about those? Being none, we'll go on to Dr. Chadwell and your board planning calendar.
Yes, this is on page 352 of your packet. We have from Ed Services, we have the District of Innovation Exemption 24 update, student transfer report, Aquarian Technical Education report. Under operations, we'll have our quarterly demographic and housing analysis of the second quarter of 2024, construction update, maintenance update. Under action items, this is timely, consider nominations for Tarrant Appraisal District Board of Directors, approval of the 24-25 submission of a class size waiver to TEA if needed. And then also under consent agenda, we have bids and proposals and also new course requests that you heard that report earlier this evening.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, and then we had several items in the consent agenda for approval. Have a motion?
I move we approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Second. Motion by Steve, second by Paige. Any discussion or questions? All in favor? Anybody opposed? Motion carries 7-0. So the board president's announcements, just want to say congratulations on the first 2 weeks of school. Thanks everyone for working, helping, being patient with us and working out the kinks of buses and dismissal lines and all the different pieces. We appreciate your patience and working with us. I know everyone is looking forward to a 3-day weekend that's coming up for Labor Day. High school open houses are coming up as well. And our TexEd Con, AKA TASB conference, is at the end of September. So Kim will be getting information to you guys about that. And then I also want to make a special thank you to the board today. We had board training that is required, and we have been here since 1 p.m. this afternoon, and everybody was here to do that training. And I will say that there are lots of districts that everyone doesn't always cooperate and do that. So once again, thank you to these esteemed members for stepping up and doing what we're supposed to do, and doing it with as I used to tell my kindergartners, a happy heart, right? So anyway, that's all I have.
Thank you. We have a number of things coming up. On page 443, we have the Education Foundation Because We Care campaign kickoff. And we also have the PACE Night at the Hollenstein Career Technology Center on September the 19th. That is a great evening to see the work that they do. We also have homecomings on September 27th, Chisholm Trail, Saginaw. Eagle Mountain High School is listed, but I don't think that's possible. You have to leave home before you can come home. So, but anyway, it is
forthcoming.
Forthcoming, yes, soon to be coming. And then October 2nd, we have the Gold Card Luncheon. That's a lot of fun. Really, that's a great day. Great for lunch, and that's October the 2nd. October the 5th is the Saginaw Training Grain Festival hosted at Saginaw High School in partnership with the city of Saginaw. And like Dr. Tolbert said, we've had a good beginning of the school, not without any rough edges. When you have roads closing and, you want the roads to be replaced, but guess what? They have to be constructed. So there's always a little pain there. But we have a lot of that going on, which is, again, exciting, but also things we have to work through. I just want to thank the board on the 24-25 budget. This has been in work since January or February. Lots of decisions, lots of difficult ones. I want to thank the EMSISD community, especially our employees. Our budget was made based upon reducing our budget, which affected staffing, about $7.5 million of reductions, which required people in this building to be, to take other positions. It required larger student-teacher ratios, and a lot of hard decisions. And people have done that as a community. None of it is easy. None of it is what we want to do, but I'm just really thankful for that. I also want to just say that just a few seconds ago, my retirement was accepted effective January 31st, 2025, which is really, really odd, even though I knew it was coming. It is odd to, have that board action. I need to double check who made that motion though. Who was the first one out to approve that? Okay. Steve. Okay. But I just want to thank the board. I know there'll be plenty of opportunities for this in the future, but just thank you. Thank you for this work together and this next step of finding the next superintendent to lead the districts into the future. I appreciated Dr. Moses, his comments, and your passion to want the community to have a voice in that process as you make a really, really tough decision and what you do forward. And I just want to say thank you for allowing me to be in the district and be a part of this transition process. So that's all I have, President.
And we did ask Jim before we put that on, are you sure you want to do this?
An opportunity.
We gave him an opportunity to say, never mind, but he's.
Yeah, I didn't mention that, Madam President, when I made the motion, but I was going to mention it before Dr. Chabel's already pointed it out that we just accepted his resignation. So it is official. So
yes,
we appreciate it.
Now though, you gotta wait. Okay.
You gotta wait a while.
January 31st. But seeing as there's no further business to come before this board, Madam President, I move we adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Steve, second by Paige. All in favor? No opposed. Motion carries 7-0. Adjourned at 9:02 PM. Thank you all so much.